What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody doing out there in chat? How's everybody doing out there in YouTube land? Everybody gonna be watching the stream later on the replay. How's everybody doing? Hope you guys having an awesome Saturday. As you guys can see, we got a packed panel this week, man. Got some great guests, familiar guests, but always love to have these gentlemen on this evening. So once again, you guys know what to do, chat. Go retweet that link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live every single Saturday. You're going to get that good game of news. We got a hell of a lot to talk about this week. A lot of cool shit, some controversial stuff, but we get into that. We have a lot of fun here at the Shop Podcast. That's what we're going to get. And shout out to some quick shout outs in chat. Ghost Fixer, what's up? Decado, Shonsu, Taylor, Sanchez. Shout out to everybody hanging out with us, man. And we got a great group here tonight, man. So let's get into that because I'm sure you guys dying to know more about it. We'll start with you, Dave. How you doing, Web Dave? How you feeling? Glad to have you back, man. A familiar face, but I always love to have you here, man. How you feeling, Dave? How you been?
I'm feeling good, feeling rejuvenated is the word I would use tonight. And I tell you, I am so honored and blessed to be on the legendary PTK Blam show yet again. And then, of course, the amazing co-host that you have, Fuzzy Belvedere, and the one and only, the gold one, Pong Soul.
Oh man, his head is already big enough. You don't need to add all of that.
Wait. I just got to ask when you thought this was still PTK's show. When did that?
Why you don't
it hasn't been that in a long time. Jeez.
Dave, you got to be careful with the extra stuff around Pong, man.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, you got to be. Oh. Yeah, no, not too much sauce, man. Too much.
And the last little thing is it's so awesome that Game Pass Dad, I've actually never podcasted with him before, and he's pretty awesome, dude. I'm excited to get in and mix it up with you guys tonight.
We're making connections, brother. We love it, man. That's the cool part about it. I didn't even know that. Swear to God, I didn't know that at all, Dave. So shout out to you. Shout out to everybody hanging out with us. Dave information is down in the description, so please go do that. Go follow Dave, man. Puts on a great show. Shout out to Game Pass Daily Retry, the co-host over there. So shout out to you, Dave, for coming out, man, hanging out with us. Always a good time, bro. On to you, Mr. Bob, Game Pass Dad. How you feeling, bro? I shout out the link earlier this week, man. I shout out the bat signal, I should say. Came through again. I appreciate you, man. You always bring the good energy, funny stuff, man. Great gamer. How you been? What you been playing, man?
Most definitely, brother. It's good to be back. I'm glad to make time here on your podcast always. Seeing Dave all around the Xbox podcasting sphere. Haven't had a chance to podcast with him yet, so nice to get to chop it up a little bit, and always happy to come back to where it all started, because this is actually the first podcast, like the first Xbox podcast I was ever invited to be a part of. So always going to make time for PTK Blam and the Shop Podcast and everyone in chat. Currently addicted to Oblivion again this weekend, apparently. But things are going good, and excited to talk about current events in Xbox gaming and beyond.
Let's get into it, man. Shout out to you once again. His information is in the description too. Great channel, great gamer. Go check him out, man. All that information is down in the description below. Appreciate you, Bob, coming to hang out with us, man. Always love the energy, man. But we're gonna shift gears a little bit over to my brothers, man. The two right-hand men here at the Shop Podcast. They make this place what it is. They're the big reason why you guys come every single week and hang out with us and come back. So we're gonna start with you, Mr. Pong. So I don't need to ask you what you've been playing.
No, you don't.
At fucking all.
No,
but it's always glad to hear you, glad to see you every single week, bro. How you been?
Oh man, I'm doing freaking fantastic. The golden age is here, everybody. Listen up. We got the Bob and Dave show tonight. This is freaking amazing to have these two absolutely fine gentlemen on here. Great to see you, gentlemen. Great to hear you both. And I always love podcasting with both of you. And Dave, I promise I'm going to find a date to get over with you and Retry again. I promise, man.
That's all good, man.
I'm working on it, man. But great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. And obviously PTK and Fuzzy, great to be back on another Saturday night. But yeah, this is listen, there's been a lot of great games this year. A lot of great games.
I know where this is going, man.
yeah. I've played a lot of these games this year. I've spent a lot of money on the budget this year already, which is beyond what I normally do, because 2024 is kicking butt and taking names, right? But man, oh man, You knew we had to get one of these in here, man. You knew that a special game had to come along. Game of the year. This is walk away. This is a walk-off home run right here.
What already?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I there certainly could be things that come along that challenge this. There are definitely like Avowed. Hellblade 2 could sneak in there, right? We got Star Wars Outlaws. We got Black Myth Wukong. We got a lot of games coming up this year. But let me tell you something. When I tell you that Capcom and this team, Dragon's Dogma 2 team, really have crushed it. I mean that. I'm back in my bag. This is, high fantasies 1A, sci-fi's 1B. I haven't felt like this in Starfield. This is really on another level. This is everything I waited 12 years to have come along. This team understood the assignment, and they got an A+. I am now, about 16, 17 hours in already. This is what I want out of my open world RPGs. However, it is so damn unique to the Western RPG to have an Easter team and what they do with Dragon's Dogma, and they kept all of that flavor, that's spice,
crazy to think
made
about
it
that,
special.
That's an Eastern studio. That's an Eastern studio doing
they
a
get
Western,
it, man. Yeah. They get it, but they put their own spin on it, where it's not like anything else. It's not. It's not Souls-like, but it's not Bethesda either. It's not an Elden Ring, but it's not a Skyrim either. It's something else in between those two. But man, the open world, the exploration, everything about it is just A+. They are on top of their game. It is gorgeous. Again, my experience, I'm playing on a PC, right? And I'm playing on a high-end PC. So therefore, I'm brute forcing a lot of this game. So again, I understand my experience isn't what everybody is having out there in terms of performance, in terms of that kind of stuff. But man, is this game gorgeous. Drop dead gorgeous at moments on the OLED. But the enemies, your pawns, the pawn AI that we talked about so much, and they have brought that up to a whole nother level with this pawn system here, which is exactly what I wanted them to do, because nobody's really done the pawns like this. The combat is so fun, but the moment-to-moment stuff, again, you know me. I've described this.
Yeah.
Every game does it a little bit differently. Every studio does it a little bit different when they do these open world RPGs. Some I like more than others. I loved what Bethesda did with Starfield. It was a different type of exploration than it used to be on a one land mass kind of deal, like in a Skyrim or a Fallout. And some people hated it. I actually fell in love with it. But let me tell you something. This world right here is living and breathing as you're walking through it in Dragon's Dogma 2. And the natural feeling of stumbling across, I was telling the story this morning, the world design, it's right. Because some worlds you jump into and you just kind of know what's going to happen. You kind of know what you're going to explore and find. Even the surprising stuff is like, that kind of makes sense. In the real world, if I was walking through the mountains and I didn't know the area and I was traveling through the woods and the mountains, and all of a sudden I came across this little path out of nowhere, I would have a feeling in me. Like, first I'd be kind of scared because I didn't know where it was going to bring me, especially if I knew that there were cyclopses and griffins running around or whatever the hell it's. But I'm just saying, you would kind of have trepidation. But there would be this moment of discovery, and it would be like, oh shit, okay, do I follow this, or do I keep on my main path headed towards this town? Nah, I got to see where this path takes me. And when this path can still freaking surprise you, when you can be walking down it not having any idea if you're running into a big baddie or if you're gonna find something cool like an abandoned fort that's been taken over by goblins and humans, and then you wipe out those goblins and humans and you're like, damn, that was cool, and you're looting bodies and you're finding all the good shit and you're like, great, this is great. And then you just so happen, right, to be breaking up the classic RPG boxes, because there might be something good in there. So you're breaking the boxes, you're finding the boxes you can break, and suddenly there's a ladder. and there's a little opening down below, and you're like, oh, what do we got here? And it was hidden underneath the boxes. Classic. You climb down the ladder, and all of a sudden you're in the cellar, and there's shelves of stuff everywhere, and you're going through, and you get a treasure chest down there, and awesome, and then you're breaking stuff up again. All of a sudden you break some more barrels and boxes, right? And all of a sudden there's a break in the wall, and you look inside that wall, and man, there's a big old glowing treasure chest. Not a plain treasure chest, but a glowing treasure chest behind that. And you got to go in there and you got to loot that sucker. And you just come out of there smiling from ear to ear from the time you took that path, and we're looking around in awe and wonder at the trees and the winds blowing through the trees, and you got the peaks of the mountains behind it, and you got the sunlight streaming through, up to the point where you came first to that stone wall that was kind of broken. You were like, oh man, I just came across some ruins. All right, great. And then all of a sudden you realize those ruins were occupied, and then you had a big nice battle with a bunch of foes, to the point of discovering that special chest down below in the cellar. Man, that moment to moment, not everybody gets right, but this Dragon's Dogma 2 team has gotten those moments right, and that's what makes this special. This is a walk-away game of the year. This is going to be a game I'm going to be putting hundreds of hours into, guaranteed. I can't stop playing this game. This game is immaculate. If you are on the fence, if you are just one of those people that don't know if it's for you, I would tell you, jump off the fence if you are able to, and check it out. It is going to be worth every penny that you spend on it. This is my game of the year over a lot of great games that I've already played. Yes, there's more to come. I'm not going to lock it in like there's no way somebody can beat it out, but I'm telling you right now, this is going to be very hard to beat. This is the lead horse in this race up until December. So hats off to Capcom, hats off to the entire team. Again, there are things that can be criticized. It's not a perfect game, no game is. There are things that we can certainly talk about in regards to that thing. The performance issues are a problem, as they are with a lot of games these days, that need to be fixed. But at the end of the day, gameplay is king, fun is king, and this is giving both of those in spades to me. So hats off to that team for just doing a phenomenal job. And I love Dragon's Dogma 2. End. Let's go.
Let's go, man. So hard to follow that up. So we was gonna get into that anyway, but we didn't already got jumped off the porch.
And that's not me playing music, folks. I don't bring my own music.
No. That's Dave. Dave brought the band today. No, but Buzz, we gotta throw this over to you too, brother. But, once again, man, glad to see you every single week, man. You know, Pong just got his bars off. Sound like you've been holding on to that, Pong, for sure. But Buzz, how you been, man? What you been up to? Bro?
I've been doing great. Glad to be here with you guys. Awesome having some special guests on here today with Web Dave and Game Pass Dad. But man, just a lot of games to kind of just sort through. And Dragon's Dogma is definitely high on my list so far this year. I know there's going to be controversy that we're going to get into a little bit later about it, but so far this has been a pretty outstanding year, and we got still a lot of stuff that's going to be hitting from May on. So yeah, this golden age of gaming, definitely. But I'll just end it in saying that, you know, for the most part, Dragon's Dogma, didn't think I would be that much into a high fantasy game. I think I'm hooked. Not quite as much as Starfield, but then again, I'm holding off on Starfield until they fix a couple of things or the DLC drops. But
got it.
Other than that, this game is pretty much a lot of fun, a lot of different adventures. So we'll get into it. So let's do this.
And just to be clear, that's not me playing music.
Okay. No worries. That's
That
Bob
is not
over there.
me. If it was
No
me,
worries.
I'd be doing this.
A few moments.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Game Pass, Dad. Wake up.
Crazy. Shout out to y'all, man. But let's get into it, man. Pong done already jumped off the porch with the first topic, man. We already talking about Dragon's Dogma 2, man. It was arguably the biggest thing going on this week. Dropped yesterday officially. Great game, Capcom. Obviously, Pong got into some of the details, so we obviously going to throw this over to our guests and just kind of get everybody's quick review. Now, I haven't played the game. I haven't purchased it. I will be purchasing the game next week, but I'm going to get in there and I'm going to play it because it's not a FOMO thing for me either. It's weird because Elden Ring definitely was FOMO, and I knew I wasn't going to like continue to play that game because I don't really do the Souls thing, but this game is not that. and I really enjoy that. The dynamic combat, the like moment to moment stuff that Pong talked about really interested me, and it looked like they nailed it. Now, mind you, I haven't played Dragon's Dogma 1 either, so I don't have really a point of reference. But we're gonna throw this over. I know I'm probably missing out, man. I've seen some videos,
bro.
I know, man. I've seen some people playing it, man. Some people went back and actually played that to kind of prep for this. So I've been watching a few of those walkthroughs. But Dave, we're gonna start this with you, bro. Have you been playing? What you been thinking, man?
I have not played this new game.
Okay, are you picking it up?
I am thinking about it. It looks really good, and of course, Pong's endorsement is, he's incredibly credible on what he likes to play. So I definitely will take that on a recommendation, and I'm definitely gonna put that in the chamber to play myself. I mean, it looks really good. It looks fantastic from the way people have shown some of the clips and stuff. Like beating up this, I guess, big giant looking thing, and then he falls over a cliff and they run across him and knock him down. I was like, whoa, what? I mean, it looks good, looks fun. The first one I love playing, and you can actually get that more of a high res version of Dragon's Dogma 1 available pretty much everywhere. But I have not played the new one, but it is something I definitely want to play. But it's just for me personally, it's transitioning new job, so it's a little hard to squeak out the time I need to and still get sleep on third shifts. But it's life has what it does. But yeah, I'm definitely going to play it. I'm looking forward to it, and with Pong's rave reviews about it and talking about it, it really makes me want to get it even more. So there you go.
Awesome. So you've actually played the first one though. You do have a point of reference. Okay.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's a great series.
Okay, awesome. I mean, what the funny thing is, I've always heard great things about Dragon's Dogma. Once again, this is pre-Game Pass, so I wasn't taking too many chances with games back then, Dave. I was kind of staying in my lane. Bunch of Call of Duty, Halo, first-person shooter stuff, right? Destiny came along, did that. I wasn't doing a whole lot of RPG stuff, so I'm taking chances now. I'll almost play anything now. So like, I'm definitely jumping in on this. I'm all the way in on this. I've seen enough. I've watched enough videos. Every time I pull up a stream or something, I get a little bit more jealous because I find out a little bit more. It's another layer to the game. And I'm sure we'll get into that. Now, Bob, have you played this?
I haven't played yet. Like, I'm kind of on the fence also. Basically just because it is kind of quite the undertaking to take on like a new RPG. Yeah. And like, I don't know too much about it. Like, I was the same way with Elden Ring though. Also, it's just like those games with the possible higher degree of difficulty, like just trying to like figure out whether or not it's something that I'm going to get into, which I'm sure once I start playing it, I'm going to play it for at least like 20, 30 hours at the very least, regardless of how good I am at it. I'm just not sure if I want to necessarily like spend that $60-$70 right now to buy a new game. Like, I was a little bit more concerned about like the microtransaction like hoopla that's going around, which I'm kind of on the fence about that, but I don't think that's necessarily a factor in whether or not I play it. But it's on my radar. I just haven't taken the plunge yet.
Got it. No, and I understand that too, and I'm sure that'll come up. Pong kind of highlighted that a little bit too, Bob, about some of the mixed bag, about the microtransactions, things like that. Now, I don't think that really didn't slow me down. I looked into that a little bit, and I don't think it's as bad as it actually like feels like it is. I just think people don't like microtransactions, right? Like nobody likes that anyway. So, in a game like this, some people just feel like it's unneeded. And I think that's the complaint, because I don't think it makes the game worse. I've watched people play the game, right? Like hours, right? Like live stream, things like that. And I haven't seen anybody really like struggle or complain too much about like some of these things I've seen on Twitter, right? So
yeah, and that's the big thing that Pong and I know Steel and them were talking about it today, and we talked about it last night. Like, that's the real big thing. It's like it's not like it impedes. Like, it's kind of useless to have them in the game to begin with. But it's just kind of suspect how they implement it for things that could possibly affect like things that are just normal features of other games. They're like, okay, we're going to give you the opportunity to pay for it.
That kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's the thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's like, I feel like if they really need to monetize it, they can find more creative ways to do so, but it doesn't seem like it really takes away from the core experience at all.
Yeah. I guess that would be the main argument for me. I mean, at the end of the day, if it doesn't take away from that, but like you said, I guess the argument, I'm sure Pong, you'll get into this, Fuzz, you'll get into this because you guys have played, the two here that have really played the game. Maybe there were other ways that, I don't know if you guys could, what would be a suggestion, Bob? Like, would you give, if you had to give a suggestion, like what would have been just like cosmetic stuff? Like,
well, I mean, I'm not really sure because the more I delve into it, like I've taken a couple hours to like take a look at it. And like I've compared it to like the real big egregious ones. Like if you look back at like loot boxes, which were prevalent like the 20 teens, or like look at Battlefront 2, like the fiasco. Yeah, like it's not anywhere near like that level where you had to pay or play for like 40 hours or pay like a bunch of money, like more than the price of the game just to like unlock a hero character or anything like that. But it does kind of seem when your competition, because to me it's like the competition for this game, obviously the gold standard for like a fantasy RPG right now is a game like Elden Ring. And Elden Ring, you buy the full price game and it has a full experience and there's just no microtransactions there. Like they have DLCs that have come out and are coming out, but it's like they provide you that full experience without muddying the waters with microtransactions.
Is that a fair comparison though? I mean, is that the direct comparison people are making? Elden Ring, is that the closest?
I would think
The
so.
Witcher or something, right? Maybe The Witcher.
Maybe The Witcher, but still, I mean, for me, in my mind, like the last highly acclaimed like RPG, like it is more of like a Souls-like, but that's just what I think of in my mind. Is like a AAA major game that like is super highly acclaimed. Which it's not like an apples to apples at all, but it's just like I feel like there's no need when you have games out there that are perfectly successful and like have other things to present instead of like worrying about the microtransactions. But at the end of the day, I think it's just a good conversation to have. Like I don't think it's gonna prevent me from picking up the game eventually, and I just think it's good to just mention like that as a gamer. I don't care for that, but I know everyone's going to make their own choice and do what they want to do with it,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a slippery slope because I just think, I mean, inherently, right? Microtransactions are always that's a fucking tough conversation to always have. No, people just don't like them at all, right? Like people just prefer them not to exist in a game, right? That was kind of your argument with Elden Ring. They're just not there, right? So, I understand that point. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. We'll get into this a little bit more, Pong. I know you said 16 plus hours in the game already. I don't know how you feel about the microtransaction stuff, and I'm sure you'll get into all of that. But I just kind of want your overarching, since you've already given us.
So my intro,
yeah, right.
I didn't know we were gonna hop right into it. Sorry about that. You know how I get on a roll with my intros and talk about a game I'm playing. Yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2, let's see what else I can say about this game. Like, this is not, again, I know and this isn't because Bob just said Elden Ring or anything like that. I'm just making this statement because I've seen some people be very confused about Dragon's Dogma, which is surprising me still to this day. It's not Souls-like at all. Okay, there are some different mechanics in it. Like I said, it's very unique, but people understand if you're on the fence because you don't know if you're going to enjoy the mechanics because you're not a Souls guy like me. It is not Souls-like. Yes, there is when you're battling. Depending on the hits that you take, if you get knocked down, etc., there is a permanent health loss to your health bar until you go and rest at an inn or you camp. You can get to the point where you can't heal yourself completely. And that can be affected, so there's things like that do make this game, like I said, not like necessarily like a Bethesda RPG, but certainly not a Souls game either, like an Elden Ring. It falls somewhere uniquely in between, right? And it's not either one of those things. And there's strategy involved with some of the battles, but it's not like a Souls with parries and dodges and that kind of stuff. Yes, you have a stamina bar, but it's not the same. Go ahead.
I do want to add to that specifically the reason why it looks good to me is I did watch a preview and they made a point that it is very much not a Souls-like. Like you don't have iframes or anything like that. Like my main comparison is just the major grand scale
The
fantasy
grand
RPG.
Yeah. No, I was just adding to what I was trying to think of a different way to approach it.
Yeah.
I was saying just kind of give some people some idea of what this game is, because I'm sure there are some people that still have questions about it, and we had some people that were confused in our chat this morning on Living Split Screen too, and were asking good questions about this stuff. So I just kind of wanted to answer that. But this Dragon's Dogma 2 is a classic open world Western RPG. Okay, make no mistake about that. It's just got an Eastern perspective to it, twist on it, right? Everything else is classic Western RPG, high fantasy stuff. I got to say that they definitely, the story, while it's not like the biggest or most engrossing thing that you ever play in an RPG, certainly is much more substantial than what was in the first Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
So there is something, there's a little bit of Games of Thrones, Game of Thrones kind of thing going on in this one. So that is interesting. And you don't have to play the first one at all to get this game.
So there's no connection at all between the first and second?
Not other than the Arisen and the backstory of what happens, but they give you all that. Like they give you all that again in this one because it's like a completely different story. So you don't have to play the first one to understand. Yes, you will understand some of the lore better if you played the first one and that kind of stuff, but it's not necessary. Like if this was the first Dragon's Dogma, it would be the same setup. Like it's set up like a first game. So you don't have to worry about that stuff. Combat wise, it's going to depend on the class. I read some of the reviewers, and again, I gave you kind of my basic overview in my intro, so I'm trying to give you some different things here during my time. I read a bunch of different reviewers write about some of them. It took longer for the game to click with. We kind of knew this. This is how the first one was. Okay, the first one, not everybody that touched it liked it out the gate. It was a slow burn that over time drew more and more people in, but this isn't necessarily like everybody's game. This game is easier, and Steele made this point this morning, and he just recently had put 30 hours into the first one. This is a much easier game to get into than the first one was. However, I did still see some reviewers who said it took them 5-10 hours to get into the game. Now, Steele balks at that idea. But what I'll say is that it's not like they hated the game for the first 5 or 10 hours. It just wasn't like necessarily sitting right with them as I read their reviews for the first 5 to 10 hours. And I think it was a lot of whatever class you choose, depending on how you take to that class, is going to determine a lot. You start out with the standard classes, right? You've got your mage, you got your thief, you got your archer, and you got your fighter. Okay, that's what you get to choose from up front. Then as you level up, you'll eventually open up other vocations on top of that main vocation, right? So you can become the Mystic Spear Hand, let's say if you're the fighter. I also want to make note that you can change your vocation at any time, okay? So you're not locked in, okay?
Yeah, I heard about that.
That's cool. You can change your vocation, go walk into an inn, go to the vacation school. Yes, it's going to cost you some in-game currency, but you can buy your way into a new class and start a fresh class, right? So you're good, all right? But I will say this for my own, why I said this is because my own personal experience. My other playthroughs in the first Dragon's Dogma was as a thief. So I was up close and personal. That was a two-handed fighter. In the first one, however, as a thief, I could also wield a bow. So I could do some, I could do some far away damage as well. But when I came to the big boys like the Cyclopses and that kind of stuff, I was up close and personal. I was climbing their back, going after their weak spots, etc. That's what I was used to in Dragon's Dogma. This time around, I decided I was really considering Mystic Spear Hand, but everybody I saw was jumping on the Mystic Spear Hand train. And sometimes I do just got to be that guy that says, I don't want to be the same thing. Bro. Yeah, so I'm like, maybe I don't want to do that as my first playthrough. So I chose Archer. Okay. And like I said, I had experience with the bow in the first one. However, in this one, you are locked in. So as the Archer, there is no me, equipping dual daggers or a sword to get up close and personal. I'm locked into a bow. Okay. It took me a while. At first, it was really slow going. Like my pawns were doing most of the damage and my pawns were doing most of the work. And I was at a point where I did walk into the inn and
sat there and looked and said, do I want to change my class up? I was thinking about going to mage, my old standby if I'm going to do something like this. I was like, should I switch out? Because I just really wasn't combat wise. The rest of the game, everything I talked about in the opening intro counts from the moment I got into the game. However, with the combat, I wasn't quite feeling it yet. But I stuck it out for a little bit longer. And you got to go to the inn and you got to start unlocking some of your skills because you're earning points towards your vocation, your class. As you combat, as you level up, you're earning points that you can then buy new skills with. Then I started buying skills for the archer. All of a sudden, that class started opening up more and more and more. And now I'm absolutely loving it. I got a new skill. I got a skill called Keen Sight. At first, it took me a while to get used to this skill, but you basically become a sniper. You basically get a scope on your bow, okay? Because you do this super zoom in, your stamina bar starts dropping while you're zoomed in, so it's just like you're holding your breath in any other first-person shooter. Yeah. You go to this super zoomed-in view, and you can start taking out enemies from long range. We're talking really long range, because your pawns will attack anything on sight, but in this game, you will tend to explore kind of slow after a while because you know you could run into something big and you're going to get caught off guard. Once you start doing that, all of a sudden I'm starting to see packs of goblins way far away, and I can pick off half of them in my keen. I'm, again, just basically a sniper at this point. I fell in love with this class. So I just want to give everybody up front kind of a heads up if you jump into this game. It could be dependent on the class, whether or not it clicks with you right away, especially the combat. But once you understand your class, the combat is fast. Arm yourself with pawns that balance out your team. Make sure you have a healer and make sure you have a magic user or an archer for sure. I would highly recommend a magic user because they're flexible with enemies' weaknesses, fire, lightning, etc. But you got to have one long range in your group at least, but have a healer for sure, have an archer or a mage, and then have your tanks. If you're a tank class, you can build out your pawns with the other stuff, but have a balanced pawn group. They will save your butt bunch of times. That's how good the AI is in this game.
I heard about that.
They will show you things in the world. They will do all of the cool stuff that we've talked about. That AI is unbelievable when it comes to some of those stuff and the little interactions that you have. But in combat, they will be your force. It is not going to be you and then, oh, I got these extra guys with me. No. Your pawns are going to be laying down some massive damage, especially if you have your pawns at your current level or above. They will do work, and I would highly recommend anybody starting this game, you go in when you get to your first rift where you can hire pawns. Look up, you can do a search, okay? There's a search feature, and you can search out special pawns, okay? Those special pawns, and I forget the exact name they use. I meant to look it up after today's show, and I forgot. I'm living split screen this morning because I forgot it. But you can do a search. They have a whole search function. There is a search for curated pawns, and in there are some pawns that are created directly by Capcom. They cost you 0 Rift coins to hire, but they will be at your level or above. When you first start out, I would highly recommend that you get pawns that are higher than your level. I got pawns right out the gate. I was level like 2 or 3 when I got to my first rift. I got pawns that were level 8 and 10 because they will carry you for a while. They will be OP, but they will help you when you get snagged by a Cyclops, okay, which will happen. And so they will help you tremendously. And those pawns those pawns don't level up with you. So eventually you're going to have to trade them out. Your main pawn does level. The pawn that you create, that's your buddy, that's your go-to, your right-hand man or woman, they will level up with you. But the other pawns that you hire won't. So you will eventually trade those guys out, but take high-level pawns with you. It will help you tremendously in this game. So I'm just giving you some tips here, some little things, but yeah, I just think the game, again, just hits all the right notes for me. Again, from start to finish, from everything that I've done, from the character creation all the way through now exploring the world and getting these massive battles with these big to small enemies. Everything is just working. The AI is on point. The environment, the atmosphere, the music is great. The music has one of those kind of what do I want to say? Adaptable music scores. So as you're battling, as the battle intensifies, the music intensifies along with it. So it's reactive to what's going on. I should have used the word reactive; it would have been better. It is fantastic. As far as the microtransactions, I'll say this real quick, and then I'll let Fuzzy get his bars off. The microtransactions, and I don't know how deep we want to dive into this. I've said my piece now on multiple shows. There are things to criticize here. Okay, I'm not excusing. I just personally don't care. For anybody who doesn't know, and there's a lot of people seemingly that can't do any research, these microtransactions are the exact same microtransactions almost that they had originally launched with the first Dragon's Dogma when it was on console. When Dark Arisen came to PC, they didn't have the microtransactions in there. So the PC side of people never got to see that. But these are almost all the original. They changed nothing about the mechanics of the gameplay, the fast travel, the saving. They changed none of that from the first one. So it's not like they had all this stuff for free in the first one. They changed it to limit you and then started charging. No, they didn't do that here. It plays exactly the same as the first one did. And they actually gave you more options this time around for fast travel because you can hire ox carts, which they didn't have in the first one. Now, the ox carts aren't a guaranteed fast travel, but they added that mechanic. So they didn't take anything away from the game or change the game format of how they created the first one to this one just to add microtransactions. This, to me, is not egregious. Where I think that the criticism can come in is that when they came out and gave interviews, they specifically said they made the fast travel system and the save system on purpose. And we'll talk about the fast travel because the fast travel is where you get the microtransactions. They said they made the fast travel system the way it is because they believe that exploring this world on foot is really, it should be the largest percentage of your gameplay. That they specifically said, the director came out and said, that if you have an open world RPG where people want to fast travel all the time, that's a developer problem. They made a boring game, right? He said these things in interviews. So you're going to tell me that this is your vision of the game, right? This is your vision. This is what you want the game to be for the players. And you believe in your vision so much that you're going to come out and say, if other devs who make open world RPGs with lots of fast travel, it's because your game is boring. So you're setting your game up above them. And then but then when the game launches, you're going to turn around and sell me fast travel. You're going to sell your soul. You're going to sell yourself out. That's where it gets weird. That's where I go, yeah, no. However, at the end of the day, this is just an option, just like every other microtransaction. This is a single player game. I understand, and I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody how to spend their money or how not to spend their money. If you are one of these people that stands on the principle that you hate and you are consistent, that's the other thing here. If you are consistently complaining about every single modern day game that comes out with microtransactions, okay, and that is your hill. That is your line that you say, no, microtransactions are ruining the industry and I will not stand for it. And you vote with your wallet every single time, right? You're cool. That is fine with me. I don't have a problem with it. This, again, to me is selective outrage because Resident Evil has these same types of microtransactions in it. Where were the complaints for Resident Evil? That's another Capcom game.
Same company. I was going to say same company. So
same company. Again, I'm staying away from the fact that I just pointed out that the first Dragon's Dogma had these microtransactions originally as well. I'm staying away from it because a lot of people didn't play the original Dragon's Dogma. I get that. So let's go to a really popular one that everybody praises, hands down. In fact, the new Resident Evil 4 remake that got Game of the Year awards had microtransactions in it just like this. Where was the outrage? Oh, it wasn't there. Oh, so again, we're doing the selective stuff, right? Forza Horizon. Every time Forza Horizon comes out now, it comes out with, this was brought up last night on Xbox Ultimate, comes out with the ability to buy a map that I personally purchase that shows you where all the barn finds are, where all the signs are, saves you a ton of time. Don't see the outrage about that, right? This stuff happens all the time. This This is where I won't go on my massive rant that I did last night and this morning, but I'm going to tell you guys this. This is very selective. This is the hate train. This is social media's doing. This is people feeling like they want to be a part of the conversation and jumping on something that they don't even understand most of the time, or have done no investigative work, or have no plans of even enjoying this game. If you want to criticize this, go for it. Do it, please. You can say that I don't like microtransactions and I don't like these microtransactions. That's fine. Criticize. The people over on Steam are doing that. This game's at a 44%. Come on. This is game. I don't care. This is game of the year call. It's not a 44% game. Okay.
Yeah.
They're punishing them. Punish them. That's fine. If you want to do that, punish them. But understand that you don't do this for every game. Understand that the vast majority of you do selectively decide when you're going to be outraged. And it just so happens when enough cool people start talking about it, that you want to get on board with this kind of hate. Okay. So again, that's your prerogative. Go do your thing, but I'm going to call you a hypocrite unless you're consistent. If you're consistent, that's cool. But if you're not, I'm going to call you a hypocrite. You're just picking and choosing your favorites and who you want to decide to buy and whatever else. This is 2024. This is big business, folks. Again, never forget this industry is as big as it is. The number one entertainment industry in the world. It's not measured by fun. It's not measured by how many people enjoy the content. It's not measured by any of those types of metrics. You know what that measurement comes from? Money. This is big business. These companies would not be producing all of these games, these massive budget games, which is another problem that we can get into. They would not be doing all of this. We would not have the golden age of gaming right now. We would have gaming, but the landscape would look completely different. There would not be these massive $70 billion acquisitions. There would be no thousands of people being hired into this industry without money. These companies in 2024, we have been down this slippery slope for a very long time with microtransactions. We are well past the point of standing up and saying, oh, $3 for fast travel. Oh my God, don't buy this game. This is the most horrible game ever. This is a great bullshit. They are and will probably test the line. Like I said this morning, the minute a game comes out and doesn't have a save feature and then charges you $3 per save, okay. All right. Well, then we probably are going to hit rock bottom, and there's going to be enough people, PTK, who stand up and go, yeah, no.
EA probably tested that out.
EA had that. EA was cooking that up.
I mean, the old Battlefield director talked about charging us per reload, right? Okay, come on, listen. They are going to test this line. There will be a line where enough people stand up and say, we're not going to take it anymore. And it'll hit their bottom line so hard that they will pull back from the nonsense. Or we will have an industry contraction, crash, or whatever that happens that will reset everything before then anyways. Something will happen, right? But we are not to that point. This is nothing. This is convenience. This is still convenience. This is nothing more. You can say, well, I don't mind spending $20 or $30 on cosmetics, but $3 fast travel, that's the line. Okay, that's because you don't see value in it. But somebody does. This is a single player game. It's not hurting competition. This is not a PvP game. This is me versus the AI. If I think $3 for a fast travel because I'm in a tough spot is worth it to me, then who are you to tell me it's not worth it? If I want to give them my $3, I can give them my $3 because it's my personal responsibility at the end of the day. Just because they offer it to you does not mean that you have to take it. And a lot of people don't. But some people do. And they make a little bit of extra cash. And that little bit extra cash out of all places to Capcom, who we just praised for giving their entire staff bonuses and a 25% raise, should be the one dev that people go, well, at least I know my microtransaction money is actually getting back to the devs' pockets. Because isn't that the other thing everybody bitches about all the damn time? Well, guess what? We actually have factual information that Capcom is giving back to their devs instead of just laying them off like we've seen a lot of Western devs do. Let's get this energy straight, folks. There's bigger things at play. And I'm not even going to talk about the big life stuff some of y'all should have energy for over microtransactions. Let's just keep it within the game industry. Why don't we just have all this energy go towards the broken dev cycles that are causing us to get a better than 50-50 chance on these big games that come out broken, including Dragon's Dogma 2 in some cases. Why don't we start putting this energy back towards that and asking why in the world with $100 million budgets, thousands of people working on games, that in 2024 they can't fix their freaking pipeline and they push these games out with an already pre-written apology letter waiting in the wings when everybody throws up their arms and goes, this thing's broken, what's going on? I'm getting crashes, the performance sucks, and they throw out the standard apology letter. We're so sorry. We hear you. We're working on patches as fast as we can. We want to apologize to the community for all the problems, but we're going to fix it, I promise. Why do we accept that shit still to this day? Right? Why? In 2024, do we do that for full price games? Right? Why am I paying $70 and just know that I'm going to get, I just expect it nowadays. Like, I'm surprised when a game works out the gate. So why don't we turn this energy into things that are actually really important instead of these microtransactions that have long ago went past the point of no return. We are in the big business world. If there is a utopian kind of system where everybody gets paid, everybody gets hired, we get the greatest games ever, I don't know about it. And I don't think nobody else has figured that shit out yet. So this is how it works in a capitalist society. Whether you love it or hate it, money makes the world spin. And if we want to continue to get these big games, well, guess what? The rich at the top are going to get richer, and they're going to keep looking for ways to get us to spend more. But it's up to you personally. Nobody forces you to go buy these microtransactions. Nobody forces you to go spend $40 on a Diablo skin to change how your character looks. Yet you guys do it. So don't pick and choose which games you want to go ahead and say is the worst of the worst. This is not even close to being the worst. Yeah. Right? $40, $30 skins, that to me is beyond.
We got games that people play every single day. We don't even need to get in that. That's an easy list.
That's an easy, but again, it's funny how people forget it, PTK, when they go on these crusades against certain titles or certain devs. We're going to pull out the pitchforks and the torches over everything on this list, PTK. Everything. I mean, there's been a lot of misinformation. Everything in this microtransaction list can be earned in-game, PTK.
We talked about 2024 being just as big as 2023, right? So if that's going to happen, we need a Hogwarts.
Yeah.
So somebody got to be Hogwarts this year. So maybe
saying that's the case. We're forcing controversy to make it better than 2023.
I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, we're gonna match the energy here.
But hear me, everybody. Every single microtransaction that's on that list for Dragon's Dogma 2 is earnable in game. Okay, it is, and it's not over the top grinding. It's nowhere near grindy like an action RPG where you grind for one set of gear for 20 hours. It's not like that. Every single one of those things, I heard too many people saying that you could not earn this stuff in game. Every single one of those things is earnable in game, including your character customization changes, right? Including the fairy stones to fast travel. Including to the camping gear, which I got the special camping gear, which is 1.5 kilograms lighter. Ooh boy, it saves me some weight in the deluxe edition. You can actually buy that in game. I found it at a store. Every one of those items are available to you in game. So again, there is nothing here. It was in all of the papers that the reviewers got. The reviewers chose to read it or did not choose to read it. They chose to write about the microtransactions or they chose not to write about the microtransactions. This is not Gran Turismo 7 that hid the microtransactions, literally hid them from all the reviewers and didn't turn them on until day one. This is not that situation either, which I've seen some people trying to run with. This is simply Capcom doing what they do. Their games have microtransactions and have had microtransactions for a long time, but I didn't see none of this nonsense with Resident Evil. None of it. So that's it. Now, I told you I wasn't going to rant. Now I'm fired up tonight. Sorry, guys.
Nah, it's all good, man. Get the juices going, man. We need that here. The Shout Podcast. Shout out to Praise. Shout out to everybody in chat. Appreciate everybody hanging out, man. But yeah, it's a lot going on with this game, man. It's interesting to see the pushback, the negative reviews, the review bombing seemingly on like Metacritic and all these other sites, and people just seem to be falling in line. And ironically, I'm kind of new to all of this, and I didn't even get the sense that any of these The controversy around it, just from what I looked up around the MTX, I didn't get the sense that any of it really was very harmful to the actual game itself once you got in and played. And like I said, I watched a lot of people play. I haven't played the game yet personally, but I watched a bunch of people stream it. I watched a bunch of walkthroughs on YouTube, and nobody that actually was playing it really had that same sentiment. Some people complained, had a couple gripes here and there, but it wasn't anything to the effect that it feels like when you scroll on that app. You know what I mean? So I do understand sometimes perception can be a bit skewed, but Fuzz, let me make sure you get your bars off too here, man, because I know you got some hours in the game. I don't know if you had any issues with the MTX stuff or kind of what's been your experience.
I mean, for the most part, I haven't really come across any time that I would need to use any of them. I saw the list after I'd already, put the code in from CD Keys to, validate my purchase on Steam. I recommend if people are against, spending full price, definitely check CD Keys or what is it, GG Deals or something like that. There's a lot of deals out there that can be had where you can get the deluxe version for less than the base version and stuff. Overall, for the gameplay loop itself, I'm playing it on PC. I know that there's other controversy as far as the frame rate for console, where it's an unlocked frame, which is great, but it's not running great on the current gen hardware that's out there. Maybe they'll do some quick fixes as far as a patch to make it run a little bit smoother.
The apology letter's already out. They're working on it. Don't worry, Fuzzy. They're working on it.
Is it running UE5?
No,
it's a different.
No, this is the Resident Evil engine. This is the
Resident Evil
engine.
Capcom engine.
Yep,
Okay,
yep,
got it.
yep.
Okay.
But this is a 30 frames plus game on console, and depending on your rig, it could be locked 60 or up to 120, depending on if you want to scale some stuff back. Right now, it's a lock 60, just because I want to see how far I could push the video card memory that I have on that card. It's in the orange, but I have yet to experience any bugs or any glitches or anything like that. Everything on high, DLSS running at 1440 quality. I believe it is also ray tracing, although I don't remember if there's a switch or not, but it's basically all the bells and whistles running at 1440, solid 60, no stutters, nothing. Game looks phenomenal. It may not be as pretty as a game that's coming out in May, but it is, for an open world game, a sight to see. I just, for me, the biggest thing I like about this is that the randomness of exploring. And I think that's probably the big takeaway as far as the whole deal with fast travel. And Pong had answered like one of my concerns when it came to the microtransactions for fast travel, because the ox carts, they even make mention that you can be attacked. And I was like, well, why would you want to pay for fast travel if you could be attacked, at least from a microtransaction standpoint? But it would be, if you do the microtransaction, it's the direct point to point with the, I guess it's like fairy stones or something like that. Yep. But you don't have to worry about it going to waste as far as, in the middle of you trying to fast travel, an ogre or a cyclops jumps on your head kind of thing. But I think the craziness of the open world, whether it's goblins, packs of wolves, the cyclops, I forget what you call them, like the brick or the boulder guys. You have all kinds of flying beasts and other four-legged beasts that you can encounter. There seems to be even like beefier versions of like the base random enemies that you'll find that drop even more gold, or protecting a chest that has more gold in it. Nothing like as far as, like, I know it was mentioned earlier, but nothing like a Souls game, because that was kind of a fear I had as well. But this plays more like a cross between, for at least for me, Witcher and Assassin's Creed. I think about the biggest thing that I like about it is the bigger enemies. You can crawl on their back, or get like behind them, crawl on like their back or their tail, just keep stabbing it, and they can't really do much to you unless it's like a dragon breathing fire on you or something along those lines. But it's
Fuzzy. Have you hamstrung a cyclops yet?
You
No,
can-
I haven't
you can-
hamstrung them, but
Yeah,
I know
you
you can
can.
stab them in some areas
Yeah.
that they probably don't like. So
Yeah, especially if you're up close, that's what I used to do with my thief first. If you
Mhm.
get enough hits on their hamstrings, it'll go down. Just a little tip too,
Yeah.
as well. They're freaking awesome. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, just the mechanics in this game. Like I have on my fighter, I have like a jumping uppercut swing with my sword for like the harpies or any of the flying beasts that aren't like the griffin. I mean, you can use it on the griffin, but there's other better means for attacking those. Like right now, kind of like what Pong brought up. Make sure you have a balanced squad with the pawns. Like I went in as a fighter, but I was trying to figure out what the next um like uh I guess stat or job I was going to go with. But right now, because my mage has fire, she has some sort of imbuement where it makes my sword a flaming sword. So
Mm-hmm.
I can already cut things and set them on fire while I'm cutting them. I haven't seen any trees fall when I cut at them, except for like the real smaller ones and stuff like that. But those are the ones you can either grab wood or like fruits and berries and stuff like that from. But yeah, it's just so many different things in the game, and then combining things to save some weight. Like if you have a whole bunch of like fruits or dried fish and grapes or something like that, instead of just carrying those raw, just combine them and make your healing potions and things. Some of your pawns or some of the pawns that you can find will be able to give you pointers on some of those recipes and things like that, or help you find chests. Or like if it's somebody else's pawn that you have in their game, and the other player has already done that similar storyline, they'll know where to go. They'll be like, oh yeah, that guy that they were talking about in town is right down this road. Just follow me. And it's like I like the the I guess the dynamics of how everything in the world is like that. Like for fast travel, you'd probably miss out on so much because there's always like splits in the road, or it looks like there's a broken bridge, but there's another way around to get to the other side. And usually there's a chest over there or under the bridge or something along those lines. And then there's either somebody that needs help because they're being attacked by a pack of wolves, or maybe there's an abandoned house where, kind of like what Pong was saying, where in the basement or downstairs they have a glowing chest or something, and then all of the goblins come out of the woodwork type of deal. But there's just so much to this game that makes it fun for me. Like I never really bothered with like Elder Scrolls or Skyrim or anything like that, but this game definitely has its hooks in me. Love the way Starfield was, as far as like how the wide variety of random things that can happen between you going into space or landing on a planet and exploring. This is basically just one large map.
With the
That's
same
like the
type of
equivalent of like
randomness, right?
I would say
Yeah,
like
condensed.
countryside or something.
Condensed random. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have all of that randomness and stuff like that. Been through a couple of different biomes. I think I'm on like the third town now. I've done probably 6 or 7 side missions and only like 2 of the main story missions. And there's other things like the time of day will affect the interactions with the NPCs in the world. You possibly finding something like a bouquet of flowers and you hand it to the lady that's washing the rug or something like that, and she might give you either another gift or ask you to find more flowers like this, and then you get rewarded with stuff. So there's just so many random things that you can do throughout this game. Although I'm trying not to do like what I've done in Starfield, where it's like, oh, everybody that looks at me wrong gets cut up. Like I haven't gotten to that town. I know there's a town where they try and fight you, but from what I'm finding, depending on if you're wearing certain clothes or if you have a mask or something along those lines, people look at you differently and will treat you differently, type of deal. But I haven't gone full like killer. Like some people were saying they were having like stuttering issues or it was choppy for them, so they were on a rampage just killing the NPCs to kind of take some of the load off of the processor and stuff. But no issues on my rig. But I I can see me on another playthrough going and being a little bit more ruthless on stuff, but having fun with it. Microtransactions don't seem to be a necessity. Like Assassin's Creed is probably the biggest one where you get to a point where it does get even grindier. Like some of the materials and things like that when you're upgrading your armor, it seemed like there would be, like they purposely, cut or made the requirement for
that's
materials a
Ubi.
lot higher. So you would look at the microtransactions and be like, $5 and I can have enough materials to upgrade all of this armor, and or I could spend another 20 hours, killing random animals for the hides and robbing the mineral trucks that or the carts that come through the town and stuff like that to get the materials, or spend $5. And it's like I haven't come to that, even though I'm still early on in the game. It doesn't feel like that's going to be the case. Like the biggest thing is you might spend a little bit of money at a inn, which yes, like Pong said, definitely rest. Like unless you're planning on resting during the day and then going out at night, which
Don't recommend.
it's like dying. It's not quite dying light at that point, but you will find weirder things in the dark. And it is pretty cool that you'll see like campfires for other things that are roaming in the woods as well, or maybe you'll come across other people in the woods that are just walking around with lamps or have their own campfire and things. But there's just endless stuff to do, and I'm probably about 12 or so hours in, just taking my time with it. But I would say for anybody that's on the fence, if you really liked either Witcher or Assassin's Creed, the more recent ones, like I would say Origins or Odyssey, you don't have quite the dismemberment of like a Valhalla, but you do get to do some decent damage on some of the bigger beasts and things like that. But I would say this will probably be up your alley if you're fine with like if you're the person that wants to take the opposite path of where the main storyline takes you to see if there's treasure or another side quest that might be more interesting. This will definitely be a game for you. If you've already gone through the trouble of creating your character and creating your pawn, I know on PC they had it as like a demo thing. I don't know if they had that same deal on console, but
They did.
With having that, I would say, for all intents and purposes, make your main character and your pawn to your full liking before starting the game, so that way you don't have to worry about any of the microtransaction stuff, or having to save or set aside extra gold or whatever for whatever things you would want to change down the road. If you make the character the way you want from get-go, you kind of save yourself some of the trouble. About the only other thing is just always know that if you feel like you're getting lost, look up the quest like log and things like that. Sometimes it'll tell you what you have to like combine as far as a recipe to do something, or it might give you more intel as far as the the region of where the person might be easily found, or anything along those lines. And you can set, I think it's up to like 7 waypoints or something like that. So if you're picking up multiple quests, you can go to the map and kind of put little markers so you always have those on there. And it almost feels like your pawns know that you want those spots to be focused on, even if that's not the focused quest that you're doing at this point in time. So if you wander into an area where there might be something for that other quest, they'll be like, oh, I think this was like when the guy told you to look for like berries, we should pick these berries for so and so, or maybe this is the path where that lost kid is, or something along those lines. So it's a fantastic game. It's marred in controversy. The controversy doesn't bother me. I'm the same one that I did complain about the what do you call them, Gran Turismo 7, hidden microtransactions, but for the most part, it was a matter of they made the game grindier than GT Sport. And I know a lot of PlayStation fans were like, oh, you just want everything like Forza where they give you cars. No, it's like $5 used to get you like the equivalent of like 3 to 5 cars before. $5 now in microtransactions get you half of one of the, the cars that you used to get 2 or 3 of for that same amount of money. And then they made the prize winnings like half or a third of what they were from sports. So when you would do a custom race and win 80,000, and then now they made that same race only like 20,000 or 30,000, it seemed like they intentionally made it so those microtransactions were a little more appealing. But they've since kind of course corrected because of all the pushback they got. Will there be course correction with Capcom? Only time will tell, kind of thing. But if they've been doing similar microtransactions between, Resident Evil and the original Dragon's Dogma, I doubt they make any significant changes in that regard. Maybe they, like the save slot stuff, I would say have a secondary account as worst case scenario. If you're looking to do like multiple characters, I have like a almost like a secondary account that I made on Xbox, because when Division was out, I actually made a SHD account because they didn't have clans back then when Division 1 first came out, and everybody was like, "Oh, you should have SHD in your username or gamer tag." I'm like, I'm not doing that with my original one. I'll just make a new one, and then that one I'll join up, and I'll have to level that up. So you always, if you do a secondary account, which it doesn't cost you to do on Xbox, go ahead and do that, or the family plan, or family game share on Steam, and there's other ways to kind of make a secondary account. Like if you want to do 2 different types of playthroughs, like one being an archer, the other one being a fighter, or something like that. That would be my suggestion, at least for now. It is unfortunate they only have like the one save file, but there are workarounds, or there will be workarounds at some point. Not worried about a new game plus. Not worried about the grindiness of it, especially on PC, because if it does get too grindy, there are workarounds once again. But overall, enjoying the 12 hours I put into it. And I encourage everybody to at least give it a try, or do like kind of like what Blam was doing and watch some of the gameplay, whether it be on Twitch or on YouTube. You'll see some of the mistakes, or good moves that some people make, like not always having to buy all of your gear. Sometimes you can find your gear or find weapons instead of just trying to upgrade every turn you get, kind of thing. But upgrade your skills. That's definitely something you'll want to do. But I've rambled enough about this game.
No, it's good, man. That's good. That just means the fact that you and Pong have so much to say about the game, that bodes well for me, because one, I trust both of you guys, right? So you guys have never steered me wrong. So I'm not going to do anything different. But this is actually a little more rare than you guys might think, chat. Like we don't usually get both of them with these long kind of like reviews. Like we don't usually get that. So that bodes well for this game. And I haven't even played it yet, but it looks fantastic. But I do want to kind of change pace here, because we got some other things we need to get into.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Shout out to everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
No, just real quick. It wouldn't be a Capcom game, for anybody wondering. It wouldn't be a Capcom game without it. There is zombies in here too, by the way. I ran into a town full of zombies.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
It's still Capcom. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So let's get into it too. I want to talk a little bit of something else that popped up this week that was left field for me. I didn't know it was coming. Maybe Pong, maybe Dave, you guys knew it was coming. But I want to talk about Amy Hennig's game, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. We got a trailer this week. Beautiful trailer. Went viral. The game looked amazing. UE5, right? Now I know it was in engine. Some people were saying, well, that's not gameplay. I understand that's not gameplay, but in-engine does mean something. I mean, it does give you a little bit of a idea of what the game could look like, but the game looked phenomenal. I mean, the cutscene we saw looked extremely impressive. And once again, it's just something that we've known about for a while, right? And this is the first look we were getting of this, and I'm super excited because she's a phenomenal, she does phenomenal games. She was on the Uncharted series for a long time. But yeah, so I just want to get everybody's opinion real quick here, just quick reaction about what you guys see. Was that what you guys expected? Anything in the actual trailer that you guys saw? Any little nuggets? So we'll start with you, Dave. One, how excited were you to see this trailer? Was this a game that was on your radar at all?
it kind of came out of the blue for me, but it absolutely is stunning looking graphics, and that's the bar is, I think, really just scratching the surface as far as what we're going to be getting, and so it is, like you said, it's not actual gameplay, but it's in-game engine, which means using all the assets, and it's sure is pretty. I'll tell you that. I sure liked it a lot, and with Hellblade 2, games like that coming out, we see the potential, and with even like Sony saying that that like they want their teams to stride to that level. So I just to see something like this coming out, and it has this kind of potential, and she stressed, this is you know the in-game engine, this is
Yeah,
the real
she
thing, this
made a
isn't
point.
fake,
Yeah,
this isn't
yeah,
and like I said, the engine that they're using, is still early. You know, you imagine a few years from now, after they really get their teeth into all the things that they can do and pull out of this.
it's gonna be
It's
crazy.
Oh my god, it's very exciting. So yeah, it did kind of surprise me. I loved the characters that they used. I thought that's really cool. It's I think hopefully it's good storyline gonna be in there as well too, because it's, to me, that's important for such a an amazing franchise. We've had some really great stuff, with the Marvel storylines, and then some not so good. So I think that this has a lot of potential with a lot of good characters that they
Oh yeah,
really really need to make sure that they nail. They
definitely.
nail it.
Yeah, the
So.
story's gonna be huge. They gotta go. They got off to a good start because the dynamic between the two characters in the trailer felt good. It felt very
Hmm.
movie like, right? So which bodes well for the game. If that even that little small cutscene, that nugget, that's Amy Hennig. That's what she does very well. That dialogue, the relationship between the character, the emotion, like getting you into what the characters have to offer. And I think that's what the trailer highlighted for me. Besides just the characters, obviously, and besides the way the damn
Hmm.
trailer looked, it was gorgeous, like you said. But there was some other interesting things, and I'm curious, Bob, what you think. Is there any maybe gameplay hints in that trailer that you got? Like maybe anything that we might see from like a gameplay standpoint?
It's kind of hard for me. Like I've only briefly seen pieces of the trailer. Like it definitely, like Dave said, looks amazing, and like a lot of the ways, like I watched more of like the overall like UE5 like presentation just to see like what other games and everything. And I wanted to watch more like the Dune Awakening information that they had.
Yeah.
Um, but it's I kind of have a hard time placing like where the gameplay is. Like I kind of
I mean,
am
it says
here or
action
there with like
adventure game, right? So I mean, we do have a
yeah.
baseline.
Yeah, it seems like I don't know, like I can't really place it for sure. Like I mean it seems like it could be like kind of like an Arkham style game or it's hard to tell. Like I don't think I'm really the best qualified to say what I
Yeah.
think the gameplay is gonna be like on that, but definitely like the Captain America and Black Panther are definitely fun characters to dive further into, and like the
Civil War
backstory of
vibes.
Hydra. But I think one of the cool pieces that I lifted from like the overall presentation is like when I was watching the Dune piece is like how they were using Unreal Engine 5 to like help develop like the Dune movies and stuff as well. It was a pretty interesting piece of information that I lifted from that overall presentation.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that either. I didn't watch the entire presentation, but that's super dope. But yeah, I mean, the game looked phenomenal. Like you said, the trailer wasn't very long. It didn't give us a
Yeah.
ton, right? So I mean, more just character story stuff, but kind of give you an idea of like where the game setting up the story, obviously backstory, the Hydra stuff, and kind of all the internal turmoil and all of that stuff. So getting you to and really into the character. So that's always a good way to start. And obviously it looked great. So
Yeah.
oh, go ahead. I don't know if you had anything to follow up.
Oh no, I was gonna just agreeing that it definitely is something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, Pong, I know you took something from this trailer.
You did, sir. You
I
must
know
have
you
been
did.
you must have been listening to me.
Oh, absolutely. I know you took a bunch. I know you was fine tooth combing. I don't know if you pulled the whole frame by frame.
No, I didn't do the frame by frame
Got
at
it.
all. But again, for you guys have all been here, most of you in chat long enough. I'm not the superhero guy. I could care less. When I was the comic book guy, could care less about Cap, could care less about Black Panther. Literally bottom barrel superheroes for me. I could not give two shits less about these two characters, okay? So, but I do care about Amy Hennig, and I know what she does, right? So when this game was announced, and don't forget also PTK that they are also working on a Star Wars game too.
Yes.
Skydance Media is also working on a Star Wars game. Amy Hennig is a GOAT. She is on the Mount Rushmore of writers for devs in gaming. Okay, she is up there. If you guys aren't familiar, just go look at her history. We've mentioned it here. Obviously, most well known for the Uncharted series from PlayStation. Obviously, she was everything. She made that franchise what it is with her writing and the story she created and the whole setup. She's phenomenal. There was smoke that she, was not treated well on her way out the door at PlayStation. We'll never know the truth. She's not one of those people who will talk about that stuff. But whatever the case was, I was ecstatic when she landed with Skydance Media. I was devastated like 5-6 years ago when they canceled Star Wars 1313, which she was working on.
Lord.
We actually saw
footage
from that. It looked.
It's still on YouTube, bro. And it's an old build, and it looks amazing, bro.
Bro, it looks amazing. And again, with her working on it, I knew it was going to be phenomenal. Writing, all that kind of stuff.
Damn, you did. I'll never forgive Disney for that shit.
Yeah, never. Star Wars Outlaws might make me forget about it a little bit because I'm like what I've seen, but it's not an Amy Hennig game. So when they announced, Skydance Media and that she was kind of leading the dev team and all that kind of, I was super excited. But when they announced that they were doing a Marvel IP and it was, Captain America and Black Panther, I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. It's not going to be a game for me. But I'm happy that she's working. And I obviously was more interested in whatever Star Wars thing she was doing when we found out they were doing a Star Wars too. I'm like, okay, I'll wait till that because that I'll for sure be interested in. So I had zero interest in this, right? And I happened to be at work a couple days ago and I was scrolling through and Jeff Keighley had posted an off-screen recording of a portion of that presentation at GDC that she gave about this game, Rise of Hydra, Marvel 1943. And he posted an off screen. And that was the first I saw of it. We hadn't gotten the downloads yet. Nobody had posted the high definition stuff, the direct feed stuff or anything like that. So I just saw this clip and I happened to be scrolling through and I happened to have a point at work. So I was like, oh, wow, look at the animation, right? Of course, I wasn't hearing it. So I was like, look at the animation. Holy shit, is this CGI? What is this? And that was off-screen stuff. So I was like, okay. So I clicked on it. And it was the clip where Captain America and Black Panther are kind of T'Challa's grandfather, I forget his name, apologies, are meeting each other kind of for the first time in this world. You can tell that's like their first time actually kind of colliding, right? And they're obviously on the good sides, but they're not sure of each other yet, right? So it's one of those tense moments. And I stopped and I watched that thing 3-4 times, PTK, because the acting and the writing, I was like, this is movie level. This is you put this in a movie theater and we got something. And not only that, the dialogue, the writing got me so interested in the story just from that short clip. I was like, okay, I'm in on this. I want to see where this is going. Again, the way that it was delivered is Amy Hennig's specialty. This is what she creates these moments within games. Some of them are comedy related. Some of them are big set piece related, but she can have very intimate, personal type situations like these two meeting on a beach or meeting on a bridge for the first time and feeling each other out. Kind of like, I don't know you, you don't know me really. And I don't think we're both going for the same goal, even though we might both be good guys. Just your classic superhero kind of lineup. She sucked me in with this clip. I was like, yo, I had no care for this game whatsoever. But now, 2025, bring it on. I want to see what this game does. When Panther and there's so much in that but when Panther turns around and says, that shield you hide behind does not belong to you, I was like, yo, okay, let's go. Let's go. I am down for this. Like, So yeah, I am now again as the non-superhero fan here, excited for Marvel 1943:
What
Rise
kind
of
of
Hydra.
game do you think it is? I mean,
It-
action
it's
adventure. We
action adventure. You're going to switch off between the two. Steele and I talked about this morning. Obviously, you're probably going to switch off between the two, Panther and Captain America. You're probably going to be doing different missions throughout France in 1943. Again, I'm a World War II buff guy, so I love that setting.
third
Like
person.
that's a third person for sure. Third person for sure. I think the running across the rooftops that they showed Black Panther doing kind of gives you an idea. I think this could be semi-open world. I'm not expecting to be open world. I'm not expecting to be Assassin's Creed, but I think this is going to be a semi kind of open world where you're in different sections of the cities. Maybe have a couple of missions to do in each thing, kind of set up the story. Maybe a side mission here or there that can kind of enhance the story. I'm expecting it to obviously be narrative driven. But a lot along the lines of Uncharted, right? Uncharted
Yeah,
wasn't
definitely.
wide open world. It was set
No.
pieces. It
Set
was
pieces, yeah.
very coordinated. I think that's what you can expect from this game. I think she's going to go back into her bag with what she knows. This team, though, the anime and she obviously corrected on stage and said this is not CGI. This is in-game assets. This is what the game looks like. This is what we're producing. So don't get it twisted. No smoke and mirrors here. We're not pulling any tricks. This is the game. Like that animation, that facial, the expressions they picked up on the characters. Again, when you have a game that is written by Amy Hennig, that is ultra important. Uncharted is that way as well. Picking up on all those emotions because she is writing, Hollywood and even beyond level type, composition. So she is giving you a lot that you want to take in during those scenes. Those aren't throwaway scenes. Those are impactful scenes, and it's throughout the entire game. So that's what I'm expecting from this game. Heavy narrative, but definitely lots of action with Cap and Black Panther switching off between the two.
Yeah.
I definitely think that it's certainly not going to be a story-driven game. I think it's going to still have its action, but the narrative is going to be the driving point of the game. And I can't wait to see where she takes these two characters. And again, these are two characters I could care less about. But you put it in this setting in World War II, you give me Amy Hennig writing, you give me acting of that quality. If that keeps up through the entire game, I'm in. I'm all in on this game, which will be rare for me.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
you are usually out. You're usually all the way out. So this is rare for you. And you hit me. That was left field for me. I thought you were all the way out on this, to be honest. I'm like, there's no way Pong is in on this because I know you don't really do the superhero Marvel stuff. You don't care too much about that. But that's impressive that that short, and once again, mind you, very short trailer. We did not get much of what the game actually is. So we're extrapolating very small bits of what we saw. At this point in time. So Fuzz, man, I know you saw the trailer. Hopefully you saw the trailer. I'm sure you did. Yeah. You guys have talked about this already, man. But man, like once again, when I saw it, I did the same thing as Pong. I didn't hear the audio right away. I didn't hear the audio until I went to lunch, and then I finally rewatched it and hear the audio. And I thought, like I said, that movie quality is the first thing. I thought, obviously, Amy Hennig's writing is what shines through. That's what's selling the game at this point in time, right? Like, obviously she's a big deal, right? You got your Kojimas, you got these people that make video games. She's one of those known names that, her reputation precedes itself, especially with a game like Uncharted. So finally seeing something from the game, not actual gameplay, but like what was your first thought?
Well, I wasn't expecting it to be this far along. When they did the whole D23 and they really didn't have anything to show, I thought this was like maybe like more like 5 years out. And to have that level of animations, even if it's a vertical slice, in-engine type of deal, that's a awfully good start. If that's going to be the level of detail that we can expect, and I'm going to make the assumption for now, because of it being Unreal Engine 5 or Unreal Engine 5.34 or something like that, that it's probably going to be 30 frames on console and probably be 30 frames, except for on the most beast PCs out there, because of it being Unreal 5 and the level of detail. Although you could at least turn some of that stuff down or make it, instead of playing it at 4K, play it at like 1080 or 1440 or something of that nature. But the visuals, the the scrapes on his shield, the just the level of detail of the environment overall, the facial expressions of all the characters shown in the trailer. It makes you wonder what it's going to be like towards the end of this generation. I know there's speculation out there as far as like 2026 being the jump or the leapfrog that Xbox will pull or possibly pull to start off the next generation. But if we can get games looking like that on this current hardware without having to sacrifice a lot, that's freaking awesome. But like I said, I didn't think that this was going to be this far along to even have that level without it being CGI. Like that tells me that what this is supposed to be 2025 is what they said or something along those lines. So
25.
that's a lot sooner than I was thinking. So kudos to the Skydance. And like Pong mentioned, yeah, they got the Star Wars game in development as well. There's another Black Panther game in development over at EA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering how EA feels about that game now after seeing the visuals for this one. They might have to go back to the drawing board. But yeah, amazing cinematography in a game where we'll be able to play as the characters from a third person perspective. I can't wait. 2025 is going to be pretty loaded considering I think we're getting Blade that same year too.
Possibly,
although GTA might be pushed to 26, but we'll see. But we're talking about this year being, well, last year was a great year for gaming. This year looks like it's going to be more of this. I wouldn't say more of the same, but a same sentiment as far as being a great year for gaming. 2025 has already got some pretty stellar standouts that making their presence known. So between that, between Blade, possibly even Fable, although we hopefully we'll find out more about Fable or Perfect Dark in June. But yeah, I love what I saw as far as Marvel's 1943. Can't wait for it. Hopefully it didn't piss off or scare EA too much with the game that they were working on. They're already ready to abandon licensing on stuff. So hopefully that doesn't send them back to the drawing
Hopefully
board.
it motivates them and does the opposite, right? That we'd like to see that, a little bit of competition in the space, right? Or hopefully their idea was good enough to begin with that they didn't feel like they need to change it, right? So but no, I agree with you, man. That trailer did a lot for me. I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, the trailer was unexpected. I didn't know we were getting a trailer at all. So it was nice to see the dynamic between the two characters. Cool. I got the same thing you did too, Fuzz, as far as and I think Pong mentioned it too. Matter of fact, I think we might have all mentioned it. Being able to toggle between both characters, both sides. Yep. In kind of a semi-open world. I definitely don't think it'll be an open world just because of who's making
like Uncharted 4, where it's like not really a hub, but you can go down different paths. Although you can't go extreme far to the right and go down that alley because there'll be some sort of like invisible wall or some sort of barrier. But it'll be like much like Uncharted 4 was, where they had some open worldness to it without it being true open world.
And it feels grand enough to where you get that large feeling anyway, right? So you don't feel like you're in this compact linear space, right? So I think we're gonna get a lot of big set pieces. They're already kind of setting that up just with that little short clip and the acting. You can see the conflict between the two sides and how that's all gonna come into play. So I think it did a lot, bro. And I didn't know what I wanted from that game, and that wasn't a game that I was very high on my what I'm waiting for list, or what to watch list. So that jumped up quite a bit for me. So I'm actually surprised for myself. But moving on here, man. I think we got a few other things we can get into. Fuzz, I don't know if you want us to jump anything. Pong, you guys got anything in the tuck that we can talk about? There's a lot actually went on this week. I know I also mentioned the Rise of the Ronin. I guess we can get into that too if you guys want to talk about that a little bit. Just some of the talk around that game. Now, once again, I have not played. I have not played that game. So I'm gonna leave this to the people that played it. But just from the outside looking in, obviously Team Ninja, right? They got a pedigree of making these types of games. Just a little bit different than what they usually make, but
Mhm.
a lot of the same elements, and sometimes, sometimes people, when you're doing it time after time, sometimes people don't understand. Like I kind of understand the art style. It's not
Mhm.
their strength. You know what I mean? But sometimes, that's not, people aren't looking for that. So it's kind of
Right.
interesting conversation. How people are viewing this game. It's kind of mixed reviews, and I guess we'll
Yeah.
start with our guest on this one, Dave. I don't know if you have any interest in this game, Dave, but just kind of, what are your thoughts on Rise of the Ronin?
Well, I think it looks great. It looks like it, kind of tried to be Ghost of Tsushima, but nowhere near the quality. Like I said, it looked like it had potential, and then for what it actually came out to be, a lot of people are really slamming on the graphics and PlayStation 3 levels. I don't know. I had kind of wished that it was the game that was going to be an Xbox exclusive instead of the PlayStation exclusive, because we don't necessarily have a game that's quote unquote like Ghost of Tsushima, or however you pronounce it. Sorry, but yeah. So I don't know. I was hoping for more, but I just have to see the longer the more reviews and stuff come out. I'm pretty much, if it's not on Xbox, I'm pretty much not really
You're out.
focusing on it as far as like something I want to pick up. So to be
Yeah,
honest with you, yeah, it's like a lot of people. I mean, like what Bong always says, Game Pass is such an amazing value that it's really hard to when you're on a budget, and a lot of us are, especially nowadays, or at least temporarily. You have to really spend your money where you think it needs to go, and to me, it's like it's one of those that well, maybe in a year or so it'll be on sale. you know,
oh, it definitely will
I,
be. It
I
will
know.
be.
So I just don't
Yeah,
think it's for me now. But if the price is right, I would definitely give it a shot for sure.
yeah. Okay, Bob, any opinion on Rise of the Ronin?
I have to say I haven't really kept a close eye on it at
Got it.
all. I mean, at that point, I'm kind of in Dave's camp where it's like, it doesn't like nothing about it is really. Well, it's not really my type of game. I'd say to where it like made me
Yeah.
want to learn more about per se. Like I hope like for all games, like I hope they're fun, add new experiences and everything. But yeah, like being kind of on a budget or focusing on like pretty much my gaming appetite's pretty well served. So it's just not something that's been on my radar or anything that's stood out to me.
Yeah. No, I understand that too, because I mean that's we've seen it that as we saw it over time. I felt the same way, and obviously I don't have a PS5, but I'm a Team Ninja fan, right?
Right.
Ultimately, so I obviously want the game to do well, but there are some things that I saw that I was a little bit wary about. Obviously, graphically, I understand that that's not necessarily their thing. I mean, the games are always stylistic, but they're not necessarily like these pretty graphically. You know what I mean? Like these pretty
Right.
games.
Like they might not be shooting to be like a
Yeah.
showcase piece.
It's not Horizon. You know what I mean? Like you're not getting
Right.
Horizon. You get a lot of
Which,
stylistic combat is what you're gonna get.
yeah. And I do feel like sometimes though, like games like that, even if it's not on a console that like on my platform or anything like that, if there was something that set it apart or like something that's really interesting about it, I feel like it'd be at least on my radar, worth checking out. And I just have to say this one just hasn't really gotten there for me personally.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair, man. No, I completely understand. Once again, so I'm gonna throw this over to my compatriots here, Pong. I mean, um, I don't know. I mean, we this is a game that we saw over time, throughout the different showcases, and kind of where are you at on Rise of the Ronin?
I'm still interested in it. I've been
Okay.
interested in from the beginning. If it ever shows up on PC or Xbox, which I'm assuming it will, since they have a big sales goal, and they're not going to hit that big sales goal.
Oh, you don't
with
think
the
so? Not close.
Not with the Sony only fans coming in at a 70 something score. That's not what they buy over there. So they barely buy their 80s and 90s. So let alone going to jump into the
Oh my
70s.
goodness, Pong.
So yeah.
Shots fired.
right?
Get a
Good
little messy
Lord.
there. Hey, I'm just speaking what the Sony heads have told us. So you know what can I go by? I still have interest in it. I love the setting. I can't wait for it. Ghost of Tsushima is coming to PC. You guys know that's one of my most anticipated games this year. Yes, I know it's an old game, but it'll be my first time being able to play it. I love samurai settings. I love the Eastern culture. I love games that explore this stuff. We have a lot of it. I will say I've watched some people playing this game. I'm assuming Koei Tecmo has given me, Team Ninja has given me difficulty levels, because I will be turning down the difficulty, because there is a little bit of Sekiro Souls stuff into some of the combat with parrying and that kind of stuff. So hopefully I can turn that down if it ever does show up on PC or Xbox. But I will jump into this game. I never thought this was going to be a graphic. This is Team Ninja. We just had Wolong. Why did people think just because this was a PlayStation console exclusive, suddenly they were going to come out with Last of Us graphics or Ghost of Tsushima graphics? That's not how any of this works. This is still the same devs. This is Team Ninja. They do what they do, right? They are at that AA level. They have been for a very long time. And you know, you guys know, when I say that, I don't say that with hate, because I love AA games. But anybody that was expecting this to be a showpiece or to be some stellar, one of those A+ deals that Sony did, you guys should have looked at Wolong and knew that you weren't going to get that type of what you guys consider premium quality. That's just not what you're going to get. But the gameplay still looks fun as hell to me. I've seen all the people playing with the glider, jumping off the glider and assassinating people from the sky. Like, okay, you got me, like the Assassin's Creed style. You got me instantaneously. Like I'm all in on that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm still interested in this game. I feel bad for, I don't feel bad because they made the deal, but the fact that they did cut this deal with Sony, put this out right now in the middle of in the beginning of 2024, that is absolutely slammed with high quality gaming experiences across the board. On top of them, again, this is where I really don't feel bad. You kind of dug your own grave. You don't delay this game for Dragon's Dogma 2. You're nuts. I said it from the beginning. Big balls. I mean, again, stupid. Okay, just dumb. Like, I don't know who didn't see the freight train that's Dragon's Dogma 2 coming. I don't know how you didn't know that was coming, Team Ninja, or Koei Tecmo. Actually, they're the ones that decide this stuff. But why the hell would you ever launch the same day? Like, give it some breathing room, at least a couple weeks before you launch this type of game around Dragon's Dogma 2. But I've seen some people posting, which is good. That's better than, Foam Stars, which I never saw anybody post about. So I've seen some people posting clips and screenshots, and it does have its moments where it looks gorgeous. So if it ever shows up, Xbox or PC, it will be on my wish list. I will definitely be playing it at some point. And I still have interest in it.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about scores. Never have, never will. I'll play the games that interest me, and this game definitely has a lot of interest for me still.
Yeah. Yeah, that Koei Tecmo expectation, they might be a little bit underwhelmed with that, considering they did make this deal.
Jeez.
I mean, it's crazy because you look at Wolong, didn't that recently hit a milestone like 5 or 7 million or something like that?
Yep,
something along
like
those
that.
lines after 3 years. How long Wolong been out?
The entire Ninja Gaiden series sold like 6.8 million copies.
Yeah. So I mean,
Like,
what are we
come
talking
on,
about
man.
here?
Come
Come
on,
on,
man.
man. 5 million?
Without anybody
else?
else?
Without anybody else?
Yeah, no, that ain't. Come on.
And you don't look like Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah, no.
So I don't know. I mean, that's a bit of that's some Square Enix shit. Like, come on now, what are we doing? What are we talking about here? Like, that's some crazy level of expectation. But Fuzz, man, get your bars off here. But this is kind of crazy, man. Like, once again, we saw this game multiple different times, and I'm not gonna. I'm a Team Ninja fan, right? I'm a big Ninja Gaiden fan. Always have been, always will be. I didn't. My expectations. The gameplay looked fun. I know what to expect from Team Ninja. I'm not getting some graphical showcase. Not that that's a priority for me personally. Once again, make sure we understand this. Personally, for me, that's not a priority. I'm always a gameplay first guy as well too. So the stylistic combat, the difficulty, the variance in enemies is what I'm getting from a Team Ninja game. So that's as long as I'm getting that by and large, and maybe some cool shit here and there, maybe some new like Fuzz was Pong was talking about the glider, cool little stuff like that. Like that's interesting enough for me to get into it. If it ever comes to Xbox Maybe it does. Those expectations are crazy for us. So
Yeah, for me, I think the big thing is when I first saw its unveiling, it was definitely much higher on my want list at the time. And then each progressive show after that, it kind of dropped a notch. Maybe it was the fact that I got to see the more recent display of like Hellblade 2. Yes, I know they're totally different games, but after seeing Hellblade 2, and yes, I know Team Ninja is not known for their graphical prowess or whatever you want to call it, but I just thought that this was like maybe a from a visual standpoint a step down from Ghost of Tsushima, which is fine. The glider thing was definitely appealing. Some of the close combat stuff that they showed early on seemed more appealing, but the more they showed it, it's almost like, and I wouldn't say it was a downgrade, but it almost felt like some of the lighting, or maybe it was the lack or the more muted colors in the actual frame that they were showing, just I wouldn't say killed the interest, but it definitely lowered the interest. And then, much like what Pong was saying with the whole Dragon's Dogma stuff, once I saw Dragon's Dogma and know that was going to be a day one buy for me, this is pretty much relegated to when it's on sale. It could still just be on PS5, and I'll probably pick it up eventually, but I won't pick it up before Hellblade 2, like because I won't get around to it. It'd be one of those where I'd pay I wouldn't say too much for it, but I'd wind up paying a higher price to have it sit in my back catalog or backlog until Hellblade 2 comes out, and then complete Hellblade 2, and then I'd get to it, and then by that point it'd probably be half off or lower, so it'd be better just to wait to pick it up later. But it is a shame they didn't see the writing on the wall. But more power to them as far as sticking to their release date and sticking to their projections or hopes of 5 million copies. Hopefully they reach that. If not, I can only imagine the fallout on their end. Of course, Sony won't take any of the blame, or no one will point fingers at them with their exclusive deal for it. But hopefully, Koei Tecmo realizes that this might not be in their best interest for future. I'm pretty sure they were probably happier with the Wolong deal that they made for Game Pass, because I think that wound up getting more eyes and buzz on their game, because I don't think that game, when it was first announced, was getting quite the attention it probably should. So looks like they made an excellent deal with the Game Pass and the things, but being exclusive on PlayStation, I guess they figured, well, maybe this will, everybody that bought Ghost of Tsushima will buy this, and we should sell 10 million. Well, we'll just say 5 million and we'll be good. But yeah, I don't think it's reaching that, unfortunately. I think this would have stood a better chance coming out at the same time as Helldivers, because that game was mainly a PC player game in comparison. But yeah, I think this, if they could have released it earlier, they should have. If not, possibly delay it, into April. Well, actually, no, because then you're in the way of Ghost of Tsushima type of thing. But I guess as long as it releases before Ghost of Tsushima, I think that may have been a little bit more of an advantage, because people would be like, oh, well, that one's coming and this seems to be like a newer game, so let me just pick this up. Oh, it doesn't look anything like Ghost of Tsushima. So but they'd probably still get those sales, because you know how Sony sucks when it comes to doing a refund or a return. So some people would be stuck with those games. But hey, this is what it is. Hopefully it doesn't hurt them to the point where they wind up closing or doing mass layoffs. But I'll pick it up when it's on sale. Hopefully PC, but if it's still only on PS5, 6 months later or whatever, and it's half off, yeah, it's probably going to be picked up, as long as I've already played through Hellblade 2. I'll give it a shot and see. Well, hopefully it's not as Sekiro and Souls like as it may appear, but
that's always
that's
the thing for me, Fuzz. Yeah, that's a big concern for me, man. And it's crazy because I love Ninja Gaiden. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize that's what I was playing back then. I didn't realize I was playing like a Souls. That
Yeah.
didn't exist back then, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't know I enjoyed that, but I just can't like now, bro. Like I can't, man.
If it's forgiving like Wolong, I'll be okay with it. I actually had a pretty good time with
Yeah,
Wolong.
Wolong
Wolong
was
was
pretty
good.
forgiving.
Yeah,
Like
yes.
it really was. And so it was still frustrating for me at points, but that is a Team Ninja game. Again, I know Team Ninja too. I used to play Ninja Gaiden back in the day too. So again, I know what I kind of get into. I just saw some gameplay today that didn't look quite as forgiving as Wolong, and that's where I'm like, now we're approaching that Sekiro level, that Souls like, and I'm like, maybe I can't do this one. But like I said, I'm gonna try it. Whole difficulty level, I'll just bump it down. That's fine.
Yeah.
Team Ninja always puts difficulty levels in. So
True. That's a good point. That's a good point. So
And this is also the same year when Black Myth Wukong comes
Yes,
out, which,
yes.
by the way, that's supposed to be action adventure and not Souls like.
Yes.
yeah, I was gonna say that.
Hopefully
Thank God.
that's
Crossing my fingers. If it comes out action adventure, oh my god.
man.
Oh man. Oh, I'm gonna be
I
so
think that
in.
might be this year's Elden Ring equivalent. Like I think Dragon's Dogma is going to hit like 11 mil before it's all said and done. But I think Black Myth Wukong being action adventure, I think that's 20 million plus.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's a big jump, man. I mean, but once again, it does.
I mean, they'll probably do 10 million just on PC alone.
I mean, you know, the performance has to be there. I think that's the main thing. I mean, it's always shown very good. Like every time we see it, it looks even better. But like, you know, as long as the performance is there, I think it does have a chance to be like a big like game of the year contender too. Like maybe like you said, even a game of not game of the year, but like an Elden Ring like, you know, impact. So we'll see, man. But that's super interesting. Yeah, Rise of the Ronin, interesting game though. Interesting game. So chat, we got a little bit of time here, so we'll cook with you guys. If you guys have any extra questions you guys want to throw at us, you know, we'll just take a few questions here before we wrap things up, or we'll get into something. Fuzz, Pong, you guys got anything else before we grab a couple out of chat?
Oh, we just got breaking news right before the show, real quick, guys. Everybody's thoughts on this and some ideas. Supposedly, word is that Toys for Bob has completed a deal with Microsoft.
Oh, that's right.
To fund their first game as an independent studio, and rumor is that it's going to be Spyro 4. Now, again, take all this with a grain of salt, but the word on the street, and everybody is kind of writing about it, is that the deal for sure is complete, and they will be funded by Microsoft Xbox to make their first game. So just go around real quick, and anybody jump in. Thoughts on Toys for Bob? Will you be happy with a new Spyro game? Is there something else you really wanted them to do? And what do you think about them cutting this deal as their first one as an independent studio? Go ahead.
I'm good with this. Yeah. I'm happy with this because one, the sudden breakup. I know for some people it was troubling. One is troubling for me, because you know if you actually went in and read, you know what happened, it was more of a mutual thing out of respect for Toys for Bob and that team and what they contributed to Activision. You know that was the right thing to do. You don't hold them hostage creatively. You know, you allow them to spread their wings, and then sometimes it comes back. A la this deal, right, Pone?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You guys let us out. We'll give you the first shot. We'll do something for you because you guys allowed us out and didn't make it hard on us. Because they could have made it really difficult.
Still weird, bro.
It is. It is, right?
I
Like,
want to know the inside baseball on this one,
do.
like a lot. I do.
I know you do.
I know, and I should throw this. I should throw this real quick. I should throw this quote from Booty in there. As the deal came out, because the deal was official when I said take it with a grain of salt, I meant the Spyro 4. Matt Booty's quote was, "It will be similar to games Toys for Bob has made in the past." Yeah. That's why people are guessing. So go ahead.
Guessing Spyro. Yeah. No, I mean, once again, I get it. It is a weird situation because you had the whole cake. Right. You know what I mean? You had it anyway. But like I said, I'm thinking of, you know, I always think of the devs first. And too many times have we seen devs be held hostage. Right, in these situations where they don't have control over what they want to do creatively. So sometimes this works out good, right? Like we don't know in the future how well this is going to work out for Toys for Bob, or you know how well it's going to work out for Microsoft by allowing them to creatively be independent and do their own thing. But they got this one, and we'll see what this is. And I think ultimately that's all. If it's Spyro, that's great, right? There's a I don't know, man. I'm 50-50 on Spyro. Because I do think there's a need for that kind of game, right? Like there's plenty of people I think that'll play it done right and that's what they do, you know. So I think that's a cool IP to have. Like, am I jumping up and down for Spyro? I can't say. I got to be honest. I can't say I am.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of people that I'd be happy for if they got a Spyro game. So I'm all in on this. I think it's a fair deal. Either way, it's business, right? What happened. They let them out. I think if everything is concrete true, right? We're always taking these things with a grain of salt. There's some pretty good reputable people that have announced this. I think it was Jazz Windows Central, I believe this is where it came from.
Yeah.
So I genuinely trust Jazz most of the time. Windows Central pretty good about that kind of stuff. So I think it's still a great deal, right? It makes a lot of sense for me. So anybody else want to jump in on it?
Yeah.
I'm thinking now more so than ever, Sir X-Men's idea that this was I wouldn't say a ruse, but kind of a way to skirt the streaming service stuff requirement for Activision games, so they could have this as like an exclusive platformer. It's starting to seem like that might be more of it, or along the lines in the same vein to go along with the closure aspect as well. But it's pretty cool that they already got the deal worked out. I would also like to know what the inside story is about the IPs and how this came to be, because it at first it just seemed like it was one of those things where they had already didn't renew the lease on the building that they were in, and then they were going to work from home, and that was probably like step 2 before closure or something like that, and they probably came to the conclusion that, well, let us buy ourselves out kind of thing out of this contract deal, so we can at least keep the name and you guys keep the IP. We could still be a go-to for you. You don't have to worry about paying for the lights being on or internet service or whatever. We'll just figure all that out internally. It's great to see that they're going to have some livelihood right after the spinoff. So that's great to see. But curious how long it takes to make this game. If it will wind up being like a launch title for the next gen, or maybe it's already been in the works for a while, and we see it in time for the handheld. Just imagine having like a launch Spyro or Crash Bandicoot game, just as this handheld comes out, and you don't have to put it on that streaming service. It's exclusive to that handheld or Xbox as a whole. Just imagine that.
Perfect timing.
Interesting thought, especially for a platformer, for a handheld, like again, a family-friendly one like Spyro. Like PTK said, I'm not jumping up and down about this. I used to play Spyro a lot with the kiddo back in the day. Love Spyro. Spyro is a cool character. Obviously, it's a dragon. For God's sakes, you got me in a dragon, right? I just don't do those types of games anymore. And obviously, I don't have any younger kids anymore, so it's not like something I'll be hopping into. But there is obviously a spot for family-friendly games, and there's obviously a spot for this on Xbox, and I think this is great. If this is part of the deal, again, I'm more curious about what happened behind the scenes, but if this is the first deal, they are going to be basically a second-party studio. We see Sony do this with a lot of their studios that they don't necessarily acquire, but they, Arrowhead and Helldivers is a perfect example. They've worked exclusively with Sony. They're not acquired, so that's the kind of situation we'll get with Toys for Bob. And Microsoft and Xbox are going to fund games for them. That's great. That's fine. Whatever the reasons are. Again, I want to know the reasons. That's my side of this. But if Spyro 4 comes out and that's the deal, hey, I'm cool. There will be a considerable fan base waiting for that game, because a lot of people wanted Spyro to come back. There's still a lot of people who love those types of games, even as adults. And there'll be a whole new generations of kids that can jump into Spyro 2, because again, the character itself and the world is awesome. Again, it was super, super awesome to sit down with a kiddo and be able to play a type of game like this where I was actually interested in the character and stuff. So I'm excited for it. Bob, you got any thoughts on it? Dave?
I think it would be definitely great to see Spyro come back, and it's a strong IP to attempt to keep alive. And it definitely wasn't good news to hear that Toys for Bob was going independent necessarily right after the merger or acquisition. But essentially, in my mind, hearing that news, the first thing I think about is just how much Microsoft has struggled with managing developers and being able to have good messaging and show positive signals, just their ability to turn around and make a deal and show that they're not just tossing them away, or there's something else going on that,
Yeah.
like y'all said, like it's definitely interesting, but I feel like it's certainly a strong signal that like Microsoft is committed to bringing in like unique experiences and fleshing out their lineup, and also being able to go back and make a deal and not just have Toys for Bob, like being able to like being a free agent and not adding anything to the Microsoft library, or like their ability to nurture those relationships in the industry, I think is definitely a positive sign.
Yeah, great points, Bob. Great points. Dave, you got any thoughts on Toys for Bob? You big Spyro
Excellent.
fan? You got a tattoo? You got a
I do
Spyro tattoo
not
on your butt.
have a tattoo. Well, I do have a tattoo, but not a spiral.
Oh,
Yeah,
on your
sorry.
butt though? Do you have a tattoo?
On my butt. Well, Pong, I'll send you pictures later from my OnlyFans.
No, I'm not asking for pictures. I'm not asking for pictures.
Yeah, no, dude. Anything like this that's family friendly and gets more involved, it's great. And if it's something like that, it needs to become in a Game Pass, and it's just there's to me there's no negative on this, because it's getting them back to what they wanted to do all along. I know that they kind of get drafted apparently pretty hard to play or to program. I mean, for Call of Duty, and it's like get them back to the roots, get them back to what they're good at, let them get creative and have fun, and we all win in this situation. So it's there's no downsides to it, and let's face it, man. Hopefully, it's just the beginning of multiple games that they will be in development for at that studio.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about this is something that you guys highlighted as well, was that the fact that the relationship, I think it highlights the relationship is still there. Because sometimes we wonder, these studios break off, and sometimes a lot of times there's no relationship between the studio and the studio that it was up under previously. A lot of times it's not amicable. So the fact that it's amicable, they can still get a deal done. That's really good to see, right? Like, because that's not, as Xbox, have they been very good at that? Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many. This is a rare situation even for them to be in with Toys for Bob, but I can't say they've been very good at that as far as the track record goes. So this is kind of cool to see a change in philosophy for them too. So I guess we're gonna grab a couple quick questions. We do have some here, and I want to grab a few if I can go ahead and let me see here. We got one from Abdel114. He said, "Why is there so much doom and gloom in the Xbox community? Xbox has more games than ever, more profitable than ever." I mean, anybody want to jump on that, Pong?
Well, I mean, it's obvious because a lot of people don't like the direction. Again, it's tough for me because I don't root like that. I'm not a fanboy like that, right? So it's tough for me sometimes, but I do understand the concept. If you're rooting for a team and your team suddenly is saying, "Oh, we're going to share the wealth with everybody," and I think everybody sees the writing on the wall. I mean, again, you can sit here and say it's only 4 games, but I think everybody kind of understands now that it's not going to be just 4 games, that they are moving in that direction. It's something that we talked about, that, I believe the future is where everybody is basically like a third-party publisher at some point down the road. But so I think for the fans out there and the people specifically in this community that are enthusiasts, right? We're the 1% of the gamers when it comes to, engaging in this kind of manner, obviously with our favorite hobby. And we do have large segments of actual, fanboys who do only root for one side against the other. I think it kind of deflated the Xbox side of the fanboys when you realize that your team is no longer competing in the same way that we have known for decades, right? That they should be out there trying to conquer PlayStation and take over the #1 spot, and ultimately even potentially knock PlayStation out of the games industry, because back in the day, that's what we saw, right? We saw Sega leave due to their own problems, but also because PlayStation entering and changing things, right? We saw that back and forth with Sega and Nintendo back in the day, where Sega came in on home turf and actually competed 1-for-1 with Nintendo. Like, this has been always a competition heavy industry for the console, space, right? The console space has always been limited, but for decades it was growing as video games became more popular. Now that the console space has plateaued and the companies see that there's really not a whole lot of growth outside of, 1 to 2% per year, that the bigger pie is elsewhere to be found. And Xbox so happens to be the one best in position with Microsoft as their parent company, with all the work that they did behind the scenes on the back end of stuff with the cloud and Azure servers and introducing Game Pass and all this kind of stuff. They're the first ones that are ultra capable of moving in a totally new direction that we really haven't seen before, where a hardware manufacturer decides to expand out and put their content other places in the effort to grab more consumers, not just focus on the console space. And let's be real, much of this community is console players. That's me. We are console players. We grew up playing on these pieces of these boxes underneath our TV, and we were used to exclusives, and we were used to, I can only get this game here. Oh, my buddy's got a Nintendo. Oh, I got to go swap out my Sega with him so I can play some of these games so he can play some Sega games because he doesn't have a Sega. Like, that's the stuff that us old heads are used to. So I think that when Microsoft made this shift, as the Xbox community and specifically the fanboys started to witness their favorite brand move in this new direction into places that, again, me personally, I'm not personally in agreement with. I'm not personally happy about it. I want to see them compete the old school way, but that's just not business. I think that it deflated a lot of the energy. And so people have been dooming and glooming for a long time. Let's be real. Doom and glooming is easy to jump on board, much like the hate trains are or anything else. It's easy to feel a part of something when everybody's kind of down and you kind of jump into it. Oh yeah, man, it sucks out here, man. This sucks. It's easy to do that kind of stuff nowadays, but I just think that's really what happened here after the business update event that they had, where they kind of laid it out, and even the people that are out here staunchly saying, it's only 4 games, they're not giving up, they're coming back, they got all this exclusive content coming. Yeah, we're still going to get exclusives. I've said that. They're not going full third party yet. I think subconsciously, or parts of them that they don't want to admit, understand that this is the beginning of kind of the end of that exclusivity run for Xbox. Now, whether that takes the rest of this generation or all of next generation or whenever, at some point they all understand that their team, quote unquote, is kind of going in a totally different way, and that competition just really isn't there anymore. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, man. There's a lot of, it's crazy because even with you saying all of that, it's always gonna be a cycle, man. Like, this is very. This is very common.
It's very common. We should just reiterate that Xbox isn't going anywhere. The brand is still going to be here. It just may look different than it used to, but the brand is still going to be here. They're not killing off the brand. They're going to still make another. I've said consistently 2 more generations at least of boxes. That's what I think before tech gets to a point, or they get to a point where they move beyond the box. But 2 more generations at least of boxes. They are committed to doing it. It might become the enthusiast box. It might become the premium box that costs a lot more. We speculated on that, but they are still going to make hardware. They are not leaving the hardware space. They're not going full third party. So again, a lot of the doom and gloom is just kind of forecasting on that. But I think more so it's their favorite team isn't doing what they want them to do per se. And so it just kind of drives down emotionally. That's all it is.
I understand. It's a slippery
Bob,
slope.
you agree?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, when they see the success of like a console or in the video game space from the console perspective, that they're still hinging on the narrative of winning the console war or winning the sales race to sell the most boxes. And Xbox is at a point where it's shifting its strategy and looking more forward into the future, where the Xbox is just a place where you can play your games, but there's a whole ecosystem that they're building in order to basically better serve their players, playing where they want to play, and also reaching players that might not want to buy an Xbox. And I feel like that's a big piece where a lot of people don't care for that, because they feel they've invested a lot into the ecosystem, into their Xbox. And if we start having games on other consoles that they might have considered buying. Like they feel like that might be adding fuel to the other team or like degrading their investment. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of outside voices that kind of amplify that. We have social media around it that makes it seem more negative or more doom and gloom. But you go talk to anyone who's not as plugged into like the Xbox Twitter, like the Xbox podcast scene as a lot of us are, and they don't understand what's going on. Like they're just hyped to be able to play some of these games on the platforms they're on, and I think that's a positive thing personally because it's like getting more games in gamers' hands and letting them play where they want to. But at the same time, I feel like the people who are upset about it are worried about how much focus Xbox has on their own platform or have felt like the sky is falling for a long time. And at that point, it's just that old narrative of selling the most boxes is just not where Microsoft is focused. And it's not necessarily what leads to success in this day and age. And honestly, it's like, if we were worried about that, like then we haven't had sales data in almost a decade from Microsoft on Xbox. So it's like, we should have jumped off the bus at that point. I feel like if we're worried about how many Xboxes are getting sold. And I feel like for me, like the type of things I'm really more concerned about is like things that I bring up, like their quality control for their games. Like they definitely have had some IPs that have not lived up to their fullest potential at release, like Halo and like a couple others, like what was the vampire game? Redfall. Like that was obviously a misstep, or like their management with the studio, or like the microtransactions. Like I talk about that all the time. I feel like those are the bigger things that we should be worried about. But Xbox, like Pong says, Xbox isn't going anywhere. It's one of the most profitable business divisions at Microsoft now. So I'm not that worried. And like if Microsoft wasn't investing in Xbox, like they wouldn't be making the moves that they have. Like Phil just got another promotion, I'm pretty sure in the last couple weeks or even this week, to where he's like an executive, like one of the, like a core executive of Microsoft at this point in charge of Xbox gaming. So I feel like all the signs are pointing to positive places. We're just in a real growing phase right now.
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct, man. There's a lot going on in the community, man. But once again, you gotta ride the wave. It's all part of being, if your love for video games, hopefully that carries you through all of this stuff that's going on. Because one thing you can expect are changes, and those
Right.
changes are coming a bit more frequently than they used to. With the advent of social media, like you highlighted, Bob. Advent of what I mean, just access to devs and us being able to get this information like within seconds, and us demanding things to be certain ways, like so it's gonna be a change, you know what I mean? But ride with it. If you love video games, those things aren't going anywhere, right? As long as the fun doesn't go anywhere, I think that's what you can always lean on. At least that's what I lean on in the end, right?
And a lot of us don't just play games on our Xbox either, so we're not as worried.
There's that too. Spread yourself out a little bit. That might be a bit helpful if you can. Obviously,
right. It doesn't make sense for everybody.
Yeah, finances withstanding. But I think we'll grab another question real quick here.
Well, I just want to say my
Go
2
ahead.
cents on it.
Go ahead.
For the most part, there's always been doom and gloom, especially the way the gaming media reports things. But I think a lot of people haven't really forgotten, but they're not thinking of what's coming in June. I think when Hellblade 2 drops, perception will change. And I think when the showcase comes in June, perception will change. So I think it's just a matter of looking through the news stories that you see on Twitter or any of the news sites, and just like either block, ignore, or move on. Just because like I've said before, they're always going to talk about the Series S being a potato and how batteries in a controller, and 2024 is like blasphemy or something. Just remember that there's an actual roadmap ahead as far as games for the platform. That's probably the biggest thing that matters, since it's a gaming platform. So come May and June, there won't be much as far as the doom and gloom. It will just be the focus on, hey, I'm playing Hellblade 2, or hey, did you see the June showcase? That's pretty much it.
Absolutely, 100%. I 100% agree with you. And then, like, just to wrap everything up here, that this whole idea for us of this handheld is starting to grow on me, bro. Like this thing is really starting. I don't know how you guys feel about it, Bob and Dave, but this whole idea of a Xbox handheld is really starting to grow on me, man.
Yeah, I'm all in on handheld. I just am waiting for my time.
Must have for sure, and I hope it's they do it the smart way and make it to where it's dockable, to where you can actually play it out on your TV too. I think that would be the ultimate and handheld that we need.
Cool. Cool.
I've got my fingers crossed that it's a Windows 11 device, or we have an option for that, but I might have to go third party for that.
Yeah. You never. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap the show up on that note, man. We had another phenomenal show. A lot of people in here. Shout out to the almost 90 people in here, man. Chat was amazing. Saw some new faces in here. If you enjoyed the show, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on your way out, man. I really greatly appreciate every single one of you guys coming out. Everybody we acknowledge, everybody just hanging out with us. You guys are fucking amazing. You guys just always show us the love and support that we need every single week to continue to do this, man. So even with the time change, you guys always show up and show out, man. But let me get to these guests so we can go ahead and get up out of here and allow you guys to enjoy the rest of your weekend, man. But we're going to start with our boy Web Dave, man. Dave, appreciate you coming out, hanging out with us, bro. It was another amazing show. I'm sure you'll be back sometime soon, man.
I hope so.
I know you never absolutely, man. You already know. So you're never too far away. I try not to take too much time in between particular people, because I like certain people on here. So and you're on that list, Dave. So I appreciate you hanging out with us, making time. But let everybody know where they can find you, Dave.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it. And I tell you, this show is so much fun with the passion that both Fuzzy and Pong bring to it, as well as you. But it's just it's fun show, and it's definitely, I love listening to you guys every Saturday. So let's keep up the good work, guys. I love you, and thank you again so much for having me on. And Dad, it was nice hanging out with you too, man. It was pretty cool. But yeah, you can find us tomorrow night. We'll be doing our thing. Me and Retry will be doing it on the Gamers Council tomorrow night. So yeah, links in the description. And thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. And man, I love gaming.
Oh man, always glad to have you here. Shout out to Retry to the other half. Once again, appreciate you, Retry. You guys go check out, like I said, his information is down in the description. You guys know what to do. Please show the guests love here. They come here, spend a little time with us every single Saturday evening. We want to make sure we get that love right back. So please go click on all the links in the description, man. Next, man, we got Bob, Mr. Game Pass Dad. Always love to have you on, bro. Appreciate you coming through. I know I hit you up a little late in the week, but you still made time to come out and hang out with us, brother. Always bringing that energy, the comedy, always super knowledgeable. So I always love having you on, bro. But let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yeah, I always appreciate you reaching out and inviting me on. It's always a good time hanging out with you and being here with the community. And Dave, it was nice to finally get to do some podcasting with you. We've been seeing you on Twitter and on the YouTube sphere doing your thing, but I feel knowledgeable, but I feel like I didn't do my homework on a couple topics this week, but I'll always come back. But in the meantime, you guys can always find me on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter underneath Game Pass Dad, or any other social medias. Stream on Twitch Wednesdays and weekends. I'll be playing Oblivion after this, and probably won't be too long before I'm back on here. Or you can always find me usually Fridays on Xbox Ultimate Podcast with Pong, Fuzzy, and Mav. So thanks again for having me, and look forward to the next time.
Awesome, man. Glad to have you here. You once again, another phenomenal gamer here. Love having you on, Bob. You guys go check him out, man. If you're looking for comedy, you're looking for gaming, you're looking for just entertainment, man, go check out the Twitch stream. I made sure I put that in the description below as well, too, brother. But once again, thank you for taking. No problem, bro. Thank you for taking your time out, hanging out with us. Go show Bob some love and support, chat, man. Once again, we appreciate all you guys. And then on to the two gentlemen here that make this show what it is, man. We'll start with Mr. Pong Soul, brother. Another great show, another great connection. I didn't even realize Dave and Bob had never been on a show together. So once again, another milestone here at the Shop Podcast.
You're the great connector.
I seem to. I'm gonna have to go back and check like the family tree here, man. There's a lot of stuff going down on this podcast, but I appreciate all you guys, man, and we love to do it, man. You guys are really what drive this anyway, So. But Pong, another one, man, another great show. Had a passionate Dragon Dogma 2 conversation.
Yes. Yes. You know, I got to do that from time to time. There are certain things that just get me going. And obviously, again, I just love coming here to end my podcasting week with you guys, PTK and Fuzzy, of course, my two brothers from another. Just all love and respect. And of course, having Bob and Dave here again, thank you both, gentlemen, for coming on and giving us your time. You know how much I love and respect both of you and everything you do in this community, and the positivity, the energy that you guys bring. Again, we need more of that. So thank you for both joining us tonight. It was great to hear your thoughts on these topics, and love talking to you guys. And Dave, I am going to get a date so me and Richie can get back together again too.
Excellent.
But I promise. But yeah, no, what an awesome night. Chat, thank you all for dropping by, rolling on through. Again, a lot of talk this week about Dragon's Dogma 2. If you guys did not watch the Future Game Show Spring Show, go check that out. There's a lot in there. It wasn't one of my favorite ones. There was a lot of, I love indies. I love small games. There's always a lot of that, but a lot of them didn't click with me, but I still love seeing new games. But there was a lot of cool stuff in there that I think will catch your attention. So go check that out. That happened this week. A lot of people missed the Future Game Shows, but I, myself, Steel, Mav, we're big proponents of the Future Game Shows because a lot of those games might be PC only to start with, but they come over to console too. So go check that out. But otherwise, just a big week for gaming in general. Again, this year just continues to roll on. Dragon's Dogma 2, go check it out. If you're on the fence, please don't be afraid to jump in the deep end. It is going to be worth your time. If you have any interest in Western RPGs at all, this is going to be a game I think you have a great chance to fall in love with. I can't express that enough, but man, this year is just killing it. So I was glad to be able to talk about it and talk about some of the discourse around it as well, because I think there's a lot of misinformation. So I hope you all enjoyed that. I hope you all learned something too tonight. If you were not sure about some of that stuff, I hope I brought a little bit of clarity, or Fuzzy brought a little bit of clarity to that. But please go check out this game. It is going to be in the Game of the Year conversation at the end of the year for sure. So it is something else to go enjoy. But you know how the drill by now. You know how to find me, Pong Soul on the X, formerly known as Twitter, Pong Soul on the Xbox, Pong Soul on Steam. Follow me, I'll follow you back. Had a great show this morning with my brother Steel Rain, where we gave away 3 copies of Dragon's Dogma 2 this morning. Go check that out. Living Split Screen. It was a great show. We had big conversations about 2.5 hours worth of Dragon's Dogma conversation between him and I. So go check that out if you want to hear more. But otherwise, this week, Tuesdays, it's Double Barrel Gaming. It's Mr. Boomstick. It's the Xbox Factor podcast, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time, now including my brother Steel as well. So go check that out every Tuesday. Thursdays is when my podcasting week starts, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM over on the Fun Speculation channel. Please drop on in there, 2-man show, unless we do have the rare guest, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Me and Mav get to catch up on the week. We have a lot of fun there. So join us every Thursday night for that. And then, of course, Friday nights, it's back on the Fun Speculation Network for Xbox Ultimate, where we never know how many of the family members are going to drop on by, but you just know it's going to be a good time. We had good conversations last night. That always starts on Fridays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. So be there for that. And then Saturday mornings, you know the drill. It is Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. Myself, my brother from another, Steel Rain, 4+ hours, live, raw, and uncut, with this energy that you expect to get your day going or to keep your afternoon going, depending on where you are in the world. But we will take you from the morning to the afternoon. Buckle up every Saturday for that hype train on Living Split Screen, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Otherwise, everybody, it is the golden age of gaming. If you're not playing Dragon's Dogma 2, but you're playing Hellblade 2, or I shouldn't say Hellblade 2, Jesus, Helldivers 2, Hellblade 2, not yet, coming up shortly. Pal World, I don't care what you're playing out here. There is just this is the golden age. So get out there, play what you love what you play, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and have a great rest of your night as well. Thank you, PTK. Get us out of here, brother.
Appreciate you, Pong. Man, once again, the Duracell Battery of the Shop podcast. Always bringing that energy, Mr. Pong. So love having you here, brother. Thank you, man. Every single week, man. So go check out Pong 2. Easiest place to find him was probably that Twitter account. So click that link below as well. Last but not least, Mr. Fuzzy Bell over there, always keeping it smooth, brother. Another great show. Once again, like I said, making them connections. You know, they got a nice pairing here, Dave and Bob. So that happened tonight. Had some great talk, man. But let everybody know where they can find you, Fuzz.
Oh, I just want to start off by saying it was awesome being on here with you guys tonight. Always awesome when we have special guests like Dave and Bob on. Always love hearing your guys' thoughts. And we've been on plenty of podcasts together, but Bob, I've been on podcasts with you on Friday, but Dave, haven't been on with you in some time, but it's good to hear your thoughts on things and just hang out with you. Thanks to everybody in the chat for coming out and checking us out. Greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to watch and give your thoughts or interact with us and things along those lines. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Pixelated Echoes tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just do a search for Pixelated Echoes for me in 3-bit. And then on Monday, you can find me on the Xbox Lunch Break Special at 12 noon on Double Barrel Gaming with Mr. Boomstick XL, Crispy Bomb, and usually Silent Cypher, or we'll have like a rotation with Crazy Lou on occasion as well. And then 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that night on Fun Speculations channel for FSP. Just basically all brands or platforms that we discuss and upcoming games for that week. And then look forward to seeing you guys all right back here for the Shop Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again.
Appreciate you, Fuzz. Always coming through with the smoothest, man. Easiest way to go follow Fuzz and everything he has going on is that Twitter account as well. So go check that out below. But appreciate you, Fuzz, here. And last but not least, the host here, PTK Blam across the board, man. I just want to say, start out once again, appreciate the guests coming out, Dave, Bob. Love the fact that both you guys were able to come out and hang with us tonight, man. Glad to have you, either one of you guys, back at any point in time. So hopefully we can get that done soon, man. But appreciate all you guys in chat too. Saw some new faces. I love seeing new people show up in chat, and hopefully you guys enjoyed enough to come back and do it with us again. Support us. Once again, you can join as well too if you'd like to do that and support in that way. But other than that, follow me everywhere. Twitter's going to be the easiest way, or X, whatever you want to call it. DMs are always open. Ideas for the show, polls, things like that. You guys know where to find me at, man. But I appreciate you guys. So enjoy the rest of your night. It is the golden age of gaming, like Pong said. Go find something fun to play. But please be safe. Love each other. Peace out, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Later.